Oh, wait. Um, Hold on. I'm gonna. All right, everybody. Good morning. My name is Leslie Denard. I'm a career advisor here on the Career Services team. Welcome to Effective Job Search Strategies. We're going to be talking today with Gary O'Neill. Gary is a well-seasoned recruiting and corporate hiring consultant. He knows the ins and outs, and he would like to kind of teach you the ins and outs. So we are recording this. We'll have question and answer little section there. You guys might have already found it. Thank y'all for your patience while we were troubleshooting this morning. We do have, we're working with a Zoom platform today, which you guys might be familiar with. So it's a little different from our previous platforms. There is a great question and answer box. So if you have questions, go ahead and pop them in there, and we will be taking breaks and asking Gary those questions. If you have any technical issues similar to ours, what you would do is just log out and log back in. And without further ado, I will let you continue on, Gary. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Leslie. I'm very glad to be here this morning to talk to you about effective job search strategies. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of the perspective that I take is that I've been making my living because people get hired for quite some time now. Primarily, I've been a hiring manager. I've taught lots of hiring managers, put process in place with lots of companies, and been first or second person to way over 10,000 hires now. So I've seen how the game is played from the inside in lots of different companies. And I've always been interested in how the whole hiring process works from all perspectives. And so really what effective job search strategies is about, the simple version is, if I was in the mode for going and finding my next great job, making my next great career move, I mean, this is the strategy that I would take. And it's based upon knowing how recruiters work, how companies work, how hiring managers work, just being a student of all of this for some period of time. So I'm hopeful that some of the things that I've learned along the way will be valuable to you. And without further ado, let's go. So we're here to talk about getting hired, right? And the idea is that, maybe you feel like you're on the outside looking in. If you don't, maybe you should. But the idea is that I want to take you behind the scenes, and we can talk about how things really, really work. Leslie, my mic sounds really hot to me. Am I all good? Am I good? Should I turn it down? Super hot. There we go. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. All right.
Anyone, if it sounds odd, let us know in the audience.
It just sounds really hot to me.
Yeah, you
So,
sound good.
okay, good. So, if you feel like you're on the outside looking in, I'm going to take you behind the scenes, because the whole idea is that it's a whole lot easier to win if you know how to play the game. So, and it's not a game. I mean, it's serious, but I think NFL football players and the rest consider it to be serious too. And my notion of game, of course, is that there are steps and process and strategies in the rest. And I'm here to help you understand how to optimize your opportunities at every single step along the way. And again, to kind of share with you, if it was me and I was executing a job search, this is the stuff that I would do and the reasons why I would do it. This is a super common question of mine. If you've seen it before, maybe it resonates with you. If you haven't, I pay attention to this stuff a lot. And the question always is, what do all the people who get hired have in common? Because the idea, if we knew what that was, then let's do that or have that or what have you. And so, without belaboring it, if I sit there and we get the answers back from everyone in the audience, you commonly get, they have a good resume, or they're looking for a job, or they know someone, or all those kinds of things. And there are so many different factors that can certainly make a difference and contribute. But the only thing I've ever found that's in common with everyone who gets hired is that they get to the front of the line, meaning they get to talk to the hiring manager. And so in many ways, because people hire people, right? It's not even about a job. What it's really about is there is a person or a number of people, a team, if you will, who needs help, and they need your help. And the whole process of your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and all those kinds of things, and interviews and everything else, those are all the things that stand in your way of really getting connected to the person who really needs your help, AKA the hiring manager, right? And that's not a title. That's a role somebody plays. Like if you're responsible for hiring, I'm calling you the hiring manager. And so my fundamental underlying strategy for running an effective job search is to do what you can to remove all of the obstacles that are between you and the front of the line. And unlike this line, where I don't know what they're waiting for, they may be waiting for a job, or to talk to somebody or what have you. Maybe these are resumes in line. But unlike being in a movie theater or somewhere like that, I mean, nobody even sees you make the move straight up to the front of the line. And in fact, if they knew how to do it, they probably would themselves. So that's what we're going to talk about. Everything we have to talk about is based around this premise of get to the front of the line more effectively and more easily. And the trick is, it's got to be the right line, right? Getting to the front of the line, the wrong line doesn't do you any better and doesn't do you any good, but it's got to be the right line, right? I thought that this was funny. Maybe it's not funny, but it caught my attention. I saw it a year or two ago. Job opportunity fair. The line starts here, right? And I want you to not stand in line. I want you to not wait, because I wouldn't. And I think waiting is not a strategy. And not only do I think that waiting is not a strategy, I think that waiting is painful. I think that waiting takes people's attention. Well, I was on an interview and I'm waiting to hear back. Well, why are you waiting? I mean, what are you doing about it? Well, I sent in my resume and I'm waiting. Well, okay, cool. You can wait a lot, but what are you doing about it, right? What actions are you taking? What can you do? And I think you probably already know that. I think that sometimes people just don't know what to do, and I'm here to share with you kind of what to do. So let's start here.
Hey,
And I'm
Gary.
gonna, yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
it's all good.
I wanted to launch a poll, though. I meant to do that
Oh,
initially.
oh, that's
The
right.
the poll will let us know what industries and what focus you are. And you know what? We really just started that. We just started chatting, didn't we? So, everybody, if you'll take just a couple seconds and let us know what your industry is, because this will help Gary in his presentation, actually. Give us a little bit of focus. You can all see the poll right now. I think we'll wait
Do I
till we.
do I get to click too? I'm gonna click other.
You
I'm
can,
just
yeah. And I did, if for any reason, folks, your area is not listed here, you can type it into the Q&A box and question and answer box, and that way we'll have an idea. Let's see, we
and
got
that
58.
isn't me who's another. That's someone else is another. So we're together,
Other,
and we're together in our otherness.
you got that togetherness, yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think we're
Well,
at 65%. We're getting there. Um, the other here was an executive assistant, no specific
oh,
industry.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we're at 68% folks that have voted. I think we can see where we're at. Let's end the poll and then I can share the results with everyone so you can all see. If for any reason you're not represented in here, just pop it into the chat. But that should help, Gary, right?
Yeah, right.
Good.
About half of us are in IT things. About
Yeah.
another half of us are not in administration, project management, business admin. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
you're welcome. I don't have a poll, but I do have some things I'd like you to put into. Should we put this into chat or in Q&A, Leslie? Which would be better on this new platform that we're using?
Uh, what the a question that you have?
Yeah, because the question is, what can we assume about a job that's open and posted online? I'm curious what people think about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Like, what can you assume?
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
folks.
You see a job that's online, it looks like something that might be, something that's up your alley. What assumption can you make, or what assumptions can you make about that from
Yeah,
that fact?
go ahead and pop your answer in the question and answer box, folks.
What assumptions can you make when you see a job that's posted online that might be something that would be, that's of interest? All right, Robert says they don't have internal candidates. The post might be out of date. Might be. They have an immediate opening or building a bench. What else we got? It's open to apply. Certainly, someone got promoted. Cool. Hundreds of people are also responding to it. That's very true, especially now.
Hmm.
They need me. That's the best assumption to make so far, right? That's the best assumption to make so far, quite frankly. Everyone has seen the job. So many people will be applying for the same position. Yeah, that's true. How many competitors exactly? Same thing. So, well, cool. Well, thanks so much for that. And I think that there are a million, and the reason why I put this up there is that there are a million different assumptions that people can make. I get them all the time. I mean, I've had people who are saying, "Hey, the job's I've seen is posted for 4 weeks. I wonder what you're like." There's all these things that go through people's heads, especially when I think that they're really actively looking for their next employment opportunity. And I'm here to share with you the only assumption that you can make that is going to be helpful is that there is a person who needs your help or a team of people who need your help. I mean, that's the assumption that you can make that's helpful. Everything else we just don't know. And here's what I can tell you is that after a really long time of doing what I do, over time, I've tried to make assumptions about what could I say about the different jobs that are posted, but I've been inside of companies so many times. What I can tell you is that if anyone on this call could make a fair assumption about what we could say about a job post, it would probably be me. And all I know is over the years, I've just kind of gone, I have no idea, right? I have no idea. But the only assumption we can make that's actually helpful is that there is a person who needs our help. That person is at the front of the line, and our job, and in terms of an effective job search, is to get to have a conversation with that person, right? And that person's the hiring manager. They may be a member of a team, but that's the assumption we want to make. Hey, there's somebody who needs my help. And, you know, from a ethics perspective, whatever way you want to look at it, if there's somebody out there who needs your help, then how dare you not go find a great way to help them, right? And by waiting in line, maybe you're not doing everything you can to help them. So I wonder why there isn't an imperative that's called, wow, there's somebody that needs my help. I need to get after it. So let's make that assumption. And what I want to do is I want to take you behind the scenes a little bit in terms of kind of how it happens to be. So here's the thing. Um, it matters how you find and it matters how you apply for jobs online. So let's just start there. I'm going to give you some other strategies, but let's start with, the primary strategy that I see most people use is search your jobs online and apply to them. It's like, okay, cool. That's a valid strategy. It's a valid part of your strategy, but let's talk about how to do that well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you just real quick. I'm going to show you some stuff. I hope that's okay. And I want to show you why it matters how you apply for a job. So as an example, if I go here to Indeed and I say, so a lot of us are in IT stuff. So I'm going to say system administrator, right? System administrator in Austin, Texas. That's where I happen to be. So we're gonna do this in Austin, Texas for a period of time, right? So senior system administrator, let's see what choices I got. All right, I have this apply now button up here, right? I have this apply now button. Most people click that. Um, do you know what happens on the other end when you click apply now? Do you know? Let me show you. So here's what happens on the back end, and a number of different things happen, but mostly what happens on the back end is that that there's some email address inside of the company that's associated with that job posting. I'm taking you into my email, and what happens is, come on, we don't. Well, I don't. I don't post jobs much. I'm not a fan of how it all works, but partly so I could show you. We did post one recently. It's rare that I post a job. I think yeah, it doesn't matter what I think, but it's really rare. So check this out. So here's what happens. I get an email message and I'll scroll down really quickly. So, it's amazing to me. I get this email message and I got these couple of choices here, right? And then what I really get down here is I get a resume attached to an email message is what happens most of the time. I'm not going to open this resume because I don't really have the permission to do that, so to speak, right now. But what you would find when I open it is that it's not this person's original resume. It's been reformatted by Indeed. It's put into their format. It takes a bunch of things out, and it gets rid of your phone number. I don't have your contact information, and the email address is turned into an Indeed email address, right? So the moral in that story is it's a serious hassle for me, right? It's a serious hassle for the people who are on my team when somebody clicks the apply now button. And again, we rarely post jobs, but when we do, this is what happens. So inside of the majority of companies that I've been a part of, what happens is it's emailed to somebody who's usually really busy. Sometimes it's emailed to an administrative assistant. Sometimes it's, you have no idea who it's being emailed to. But when you click that apply now button, it's generally emailed to someone. You may also know that on Indeed, some jobs are sponsored, and that means the company paid money to kind of get it moved up in the list, so they're a customer and they actually have an account, right? There are some that Indeed finds by scraping off of companies' job boards and going and finding jobs over the net. And if they don't have an account with Indeed, and they still may have the job shown there, and you can still apply for it, but it doesn't really go to anyone except for sales who can go try to sell an account to that company. That doesn't happen a lot, but it certainly happens. My point here is that I'm really taking you behind the scenes. I want you to understand how this works and how to run an effective job search. So since I know that a lot of you, and it's a legitimate strategy, is searching job boards for jobs and applying for them, I wanted you to know what happens when you apply. Some of the time you'll see multiple choices: apply now, apply through Glassdoor, apply through whatever it is. All I can tell you is every single one of those paths, the more different paths that are presented for somebody to apply to a job for me, the worse my life becomes, right? And it's horrible, quite frankly, on the receiving end of all of this. And so here's my suggestion to you. So what do you do about it? What you do about it is really, really simple. So see this company, Manning Navcom? I have no idea who they are. So we're going to do this. I'm going to take this name and I'm going to show you a couple of things. One is, first of all, we're Manning Navcom. Where is Manning Navcom? Oh, come on.
Uh-oh. It looks like we might have lost Gary. He disappeared. If y'all will hang tight with us, we'll get him back.
He will be back in just a moment. His computer decided to do a little reboot.
This is where we need some background music or something.
You're right, Leslie. That would always make it more entertaining.
I was picturing the Jeopardy. Do, 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 do. Well, this actually would be a good time while we're waiting here. I know that Gary is kind of in the middle of the presentation, but if you have any questions that you know you're going to have at some point or that have already been generated by what he's been talking about, feel free to pop those in, and that way we'll have them in here for him when he gets back. Yeah, exactly. Give you a chance to soak it in. You're right, you're at the very beginning and it does require some soaking in. Okay, I think he might be back. Let's see. Hello. Let me
My
make you.
voice is back. Oh my God.
All right, Gary.
All
There you
right.
go.
Thanks, everyone. I'm having technical difficulties today. So what was a little odd, if I could just share, can I share something a little bit private? It's not quite personal, but it's a little
Sure.
private. So in this little room that I'm in, this light mostly that lights me up is connected to my computer, and there's very other little light in here. And when my computer decided not just to reboot, just to like totally go black, it was very dark in here.
All of a sudden it was like midnight.
Literally went dark. All right. Thanks for your patience with me, everyone. Oh my goodness. All right. So, you know what? Maybe this is a really good excuse to buy a new computer. Wouldn't you all say so? Can I buy a new computer now? Okay,
Yeah, you
thanks.
have our permission, yes.
Okay, God, let me share my screen and we'll be back. All right. I think I'm sharing it. Can you see
No,
it?
we are seeing you,
Okay, here
just your
we go.
picture.
Screen two. Oh my goodness. All right. All
There you
right. Now we're
go.
cooking with grease, right?
Yep, yep, all good.
All right, cool. So I think that saying probably shows a little bit of where I'm from. Does everybody say we're cooking with grease? No, probably not. All right. So here's the deal. Here's where we're at. Effective job search strategies. My whole point in this whole session is to show you what I would do if I was looking for a job. And where we're starting with this whole thing is that the idea is that nobody gets hired until you get to the front of the line. And everything that I'm going to show you are techniques to get to the front of the line faster. The concept that we're on right now is how you apply for a job literally matters. And what I'm telling you is that every time you go to one of these job boards, like Indeed, and by the way, Google has a job board. Did you know Google has a job board? Did you know that I think Google's job board is better than Indeed's job board? Yeah, I do. The quick version of it is here. I'm going to run a quick Google search. And this is not a thing to teach you to use these job boards, but I'm just showing you. System administrator jobs. It'll even correct my spelling for me. Showing system. See this blue banner? I can click the blue banner, and now I just got to Google's job search engine. Two big differences between Indeed and Google's job search engine is that the jobs that you see Indeed are mostly the ones that companies have paid to sponsor. And so really your view into the world, and there's nothing wrong with it, your view into the world is companies who have essentially paid to have their jobs posted. There are some that aren't, but it doesn't really go to them. And the way that Indeed gets jobs is either companies go there to post it or they scrape, job boards off the world. With regard to finding jobs that are out there, who's better at scraping and finding information on the web, Indeed or Google? Yeah, I thought so too. And so Google is another great place. There's a couple of things that I really love about their particular interface. As an example, one of them is right here, which is I search for system administrator jobs in Austin. What Google is telling me here is that closely associated with those kinds of jobs, they see titles such as computer IT, office admin, management, right? They show you other kinds of things, titles that are often used for the same positions and things like that. So some additional insider information you can get here. One of the only things that I think is almost useless here is date posted. My suggestion to you is you pay zero attention to date posted because you can't assume anything from that. I can, tell me every story that you can do and I can tell you a different story. So date posted has nothing to do with anything, right? Just don't pay attention to that. It does not serve you well. All right, so that's where we're at. And what I was going to show you is instead of clicking the apply now button, which we both agreed that what's going to happen is, or we didn't agree, but I told you, is that it's going to email your resume to somebody. The assumption that you can fairly make is that whoever that is probably busy. They probably get 300 other emails and yours is just one of many. They're not the hiring manager. They're not the decision maker. They're usually a recruiter, administrative assistant, or somebody in HR. Your resume may or may not even get looked at. It gets shuffled in the mail and who knows, right? But what I can tell you for sure is that what I can tell you for sure in general is that when you click the apply now button, it's usually not getting emailed to the hiring manager. And so usually it's putting you at the very end of the line. So let's move up one step. And the way we're going to move up one step is that we're going to go find this company, Manning Navcom. And it's irritating me that they don't come up in my initial search results. So what we're gonna do, Manning Navcom. We're gonna do this. I would skip to a different one, but I wanna know. Manning Navcom. Now I'm gonna do this. So one of my favorite tools in all of this. So I didn't find it on Google. I would have expected to, but I didn't. And so I'm gonna go to LinkedIn. You know that most all companies have a little short page on LinkedIn, right? Come on, LinkedIn. Can you hear the fan on my computer? It's like really working hard today for some reason.
Uh-oh, that's a sign.
And then you hear the fan. It's just like, wah. Yeah. So if I get booted out again, I'm gonna just look on bail out of the webinar. Let's go to GoFundMe, find my site. I'm gonna have a GoFundMe for buy carry a new computer. All right. Manning Navcom. I'm gonna go to companies. Cross my fingers. Oh, here we go. Manning Navcom is a company right here. Hopefully, oh, they've only got 4 employees on LinkedIn. They don't even have a website. All right, so this one would be one where what I'd tell you is that the next thing that you do is let's just follow this path. I saw this one. They need a system administrator. They're paying decent for a system admin job, depending upon, some more particulars. They don't have a website. So here's what I would do in this particular case is I couldn't find them on LinkedIn or on Google, but I did find them on LinkedIn. They have 4 employees on LinkedIn. I'm going to click that right now. And what I'm going to do is Jeff Manning is president at Manning Navcom. Big surprise, right? So I'm going to open this link. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with every single one of these people. And I'm going to send a note over to Jeff Manning. And I'm going to say, hi, Jeff. And I'm going to go back to this job post for a second. I would pick a few things out of here. Hi, Jeff. I'm a system admin. Now, I wouldn't be applying for this job or reaching out to him if I couldn't do the work. So we're assuming I can do the work, right? Or at least somewhere in the neighborhood of doing the work. And I'm going to take this job description with a grain of salt because I know as a recruiter that rarely does anybody hire anybody who checks all those boxes, right? Especially ignore years of experience, like it kind of doesn't matter. But I'm going to kind of go, yeah, I'm a reasonable, I'm reasonably competent to do this work, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm going to reach out to Jeff. I send him a connection request. Let's click connect and it pops up here. I would send him a note, something to the effect that says, hi, Jeff, I'm a system administrator. I help companies, and I would have pulled using his words, right? Vehicle tracking systems. I can't talk about that, including the networking, blah, blah, blah. I help companies with their communications, networking, hardware, and software challenges. And I probably go on to say, I probably wouldn't say that I saw a job that was posted online because that doesn't make him like me more. You can say it, but why waste my space? What I'd probably say is, when the time is right, I would welcome a conversation to see how I might make a significant difference to the success of Manning Navcom Incorporated. Thanks so much, Gary O'Neill. I'm going to leave you my, I'm going to send this message in my connection request. Bam, right? I didn't do it because I'm not in a job search mode right now. And then what I'd do is in this particular case, I would go ahead and I would do the same thing here. Lee Simon's Director of Product, US Sales Director, Director of Sales. I'd probably go ahead and connect with all of these. Hey, Lee, I'm a system administrator here in Austin, Texas. I help solve problems like this. When the time is right, welcome a conversation and see if I might be able to help you guys over at Manning Navcom. Bam, Rachel, bam, Tony. So now what just happened is that somebody on this team is getting the emails when somebody applies on Indeed. They're really busy doing all kinds of other things, is a fair assumption to make. You're somewhere in their pile. They may or may not get to it. It might have even gone in their spam. They may have actually, since they're all real busy, they may have had the email forwarded to Jeff Manning's cousin or something. I mean, who knows, right? But what I just did was I just take my first step to move past being in the line at all, and I'm going to go direct connect with one or more of these people. And regardless of the organization, I mean, that is what I'm going to do. Now, the other example that I was going to, let me just pause there. Does that make sense? Are we good? So see what I did just to get to the front of the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Hey, actually, there's a good question related to that.
Okay, cool.
The issue is
And
the
Edward
question.
McGee raised his hand. Is that Edward?
No, it's actually someone else.
Okay.
Donna, she says, Gary, the issue is that most times the recruiters are sending out the job description and we don't always know the name of the company.
Oh, that's true too, right? We'll talk about
Okay.
that. Yeah,
Okay,
that's true. That's true too. And you're
cool.
talking about recruiting firms, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's true too. So we're going to show you a couple of different strategies. So if I was working the job boards, let me just keep going. I'll just show you a
sure.
couple of examples and we'll make sure to address that one.
Sounds good.
I'm going to pick a different one here. So Bridgefront Capital, let's do that. Oh, European shift, right? But let's just do Bridgefront Capital, right? If I click on Bridgefront Capital, I can apply now. I'm not going to apply now because I know what's going to happen. It's going to reformat my resume. It's going to give them not my contact information. They're going to not like it because Indeed is my last. Most recruiters who I know, our primary strategy is reaching out to individuals on Indeed. And then the next strategy is that we'll work our own internal job board because it's a whole lot easier. And the last thing we do, even if there's a job posted out there online somewhere, is deal with the ugly pile of all the reformatted resumes that gets emailed to us and isn't in our applicant tracking system, right? It's the biggest hassle for us. So it's the last place we go, right? And generally, a lot of times you won't get any response because since the email responses that we get from these systems is the last place that I want to go, if my problem gets solved some other way, and I mean, I've already reached out to 150 people. I got people I'm communicating with, people who came directly to the website, people, I won't go to that pile of fodder and mess that's the people who applied online unless I have to, right? And you know, statistically, is there somebody in that set of people who's going to be really strong in the rest? And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, I just don't know. And so if I've taken the strategy as a recruiter to go online, identify 100 people who are high, you know, probably, you know, likely to be qualified, interested, and available, I'm engaging with them, and 20 of them are already having conversations with me. Why would I go there, right? Why? Now, there are some companies that don't have recruiters that don't work that way, and the only way that they hire is by looking at that incoming set, or actually they'll log into Indeed and they'll do it there, and they'll use Indeed as their applicant tracking system. But the whole strategy here is to make the assumption that's the most helpful. And the assumption you can make that's the most helpful to you is that people aren't paying attention to it when you click the apply now button, because a lot of times they're not. And even in the cases where they are, the strategies I'm showing you will still get you to the front of the line. Don't stand in the line. Let's move, right? All right. So now what we're going to do, same kind of strategy. I'm going to take this Bridgefront Capital, copy that. I'm going to go over, you know what, I'm going to go straight to Indeed. Let's just go there. And I'm going to put in Bridgefront Capital. There's Bridgefront Capital. Dun, 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 dun. I'm going to go to Bridgefront Capital's website. And now that I'm on Bridgefront Capital's website, I'm going to wait for it. Wait for it. Wow, that's really kind of cool. Work with us. I bet this is for, I bet work for us is not for jobs. Maybe it is. What we're trying to see is, do they have a corporate job board? Who are we? Work with us. I bet that's not under here. I bet this is the work that we do. Oh, here it is. Please contact us at hiring@Bridgefront Capital. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go straight here. So, you know, I would apply through Indeed too, but kind of why? You know, maybe, but why? I know it's going to reformat my resume. I mean, why? So what I'm going to do here is I would take that and I would start by following those instructions. I would send it. It's going to go straight to hiring at whatever it is. It could be that the stuff through Indeed is going to that same email address, but this is still the strategy. I'm trying to get a little bit more direct connected. If they had an applicant, oh, here, look at this one, current openings. Y'all saw that, didn't you? You're like, click that. Would you just click that? It's like, sorry, I didn't see it. So I got this software development, Linux systems engineer, European shift. There we go. And let's see what happens. They may take us to a D. Oh no, it just takes you down here to apply now on this button. So you could certainly apply now. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to Bridgefront Capital. Wow, just randomly I got two tiny companies, but you know, it works the same. It's just sometimes a little more challenging when you don't know. So, you know, I've got Brian Huber, I've got Alexander. I'd connect with these people. I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to see if I can't connect with one of them. Let's assume that the company is a little bit larger company, right? And rather than going to the job boards, let's just say that we saw a job that was posted for, let's say it was posted for Big Commerce, right? Let's just say that. So what I would do is I'll go to Big Commerce in LinkedIn. That's the company. And in BigCommerce, it's going to take me to their website, so I don't have to figure out their URL. Are they bigcommerce.co, bigcommerce.io, bigcommerce.com? I don't know. And I bet you what I can do is somewhere in here, they're going to have something about careers buried way down here. E-commerce guides, those kind of things, videos, theme, case examples, company careers. There we go. Y'all saw that before me too. We can do the extraordinary. Awesome. So where's the stuff? Filtered jobs, business administrator, data engineering, IT and ops. What was the job we were supposedly looking at? Linux system administrator. No, that's not right. Oh, we don't have one. We were pretending like we did that. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. But let's just, you know, we're pretending we saw a job. They don't happen to have any in IT here, but let's go here. Let's go to administrative type jobs. And get rid of that. Oh, clear that. Jobs and locations. Let's just pick this one. Senior data engineer, why not? So I could certainly, if I had seen, the notion is we're pretending like I saw this position, senior data engineer, on Indeed or Google's job search engine or somewhere. And what I could do is I could apply through it here. If I had the choice of either applying through Indeed or applying through Glassdoor or applying through LinkedIn or applying through some other place, I would skip that and I would see if I couldn't come right here and apply directly online. And the reason why I'm going to do that is that it's going to put me straight into their applicant tracking system. And that's going to make it a lot easier for the individual who's working it on the inside, because if you apply through Indeed, I have to put you into the applicant tracking system. Now, sometimes companies have it integrated. Most of the time that they don't. The safe assumption is that they don't. And what they're getting is an email. I have to save the attachment. I have to go do that. I have to go into my applicant tracking system, say add candidate. I have to upload that. It's going to put in your name wrong. And I'm going, why'd you use all caps for your names? Oh my God, I got to retype that, right? Right? It's just a hassle, quite frankly. And right here, apply with Indeed, man, I would probably skip that. That means that their job board is driven that way, but I would apply right here, and that's how I'd go do it. So avoid going through the job boards if you can and go straight to their applicant tracking system. That gets you a couple of steps ahead. Now, what I'm going to do in addition to that is that I'm going to click right here, so I see all their employees, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button. It's called All Filters. And I'm going to go find the recruiter. So the company is BigCommerce. That's already checked. And what I'm going to go do is in this title field, recruiter. Indeed, or LinkedIn is not so good at knowing what it is that you mean. So look at this. I got a senior technical recruiter in BigCommerce. I got another talent acquisition recruiter. What other kind of recruiter is there? Senior global recruiter, right? I mean, senior talent acquisition technical. I think they all got to make up their own titles, but that's fine. Senior talent acquisition recruiter. There's another one of those, right? And so the notion is I'm going to go connect with every single one of these. Now, Victoria I happen to already be connected with, but I'm going to go connect. And I'm going to say, hey, Lindsay, you know, and I wouldn't be applying for the job if I wouldn't let lead security kind of type person handle lead security, whatever it is. I help companies solve these kinds of problems that I pulled out of the job description. You know, I'd welcome a conversation to see how I might be able to help BigCommerce be successful with regard to their, you know, security engineering kinds of challenges. Thanks, right? And I'll send you my contact information. I'm going to contact them, right? So I'm going to send connection request out to all of these individuals, right? Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is, and we're skipping to the front of the line. I don't want to wait in the line. I don't want to be in the ATS. Those people are busy. They're doing other kinds of things. Statistically, the odds of even looking at my resume are slim and none. And what we didn't even talk about is that when you applied for the job online, the applicant tracking system sliced and diced your resume by word. It counted how many words match in your resume that match the words that are in the job description. It's a lame way of doing it, but that's how those systems work, because the people are trying to do something about the onslaught of people who are applying for jobs because they're just crushed by it. So you had to get through that hoop. So when you apply for a job online, you're a long way from the hiring manager is my point. So let's go find the hiring manager. So that was, you know, it was a job that was in IT. I'm going to type in IT, see what I get. I'm going to apply that. And what I'm looking for is the hiring manager, senior manager, IT operations. Just might be James. Manager corporate IT might be, but I know this person knows the job is open. I know that for sure. And what I got was how many people did I get in my, so I'm going to go connect with every single one of these people too. There's a senior talent acquisition leader again. But these two people, senior manager, one of these is likely to be the hiring manager. If they're not, then they know who the hiring manager is. I'm going to go connect with both of those. And for Arjun, I'm essentially going to say, hey, Arjun, I'm a security, you know, whatever it was in the thing. I'm a lead, you know, I'm a security professional, help companies solve problems like this, that one, the other one. I would, well, you know, when the time is right, I would welcome a conversation and see if I might be able to help you and your team and your IT team at BigCommerce, you know, be successful and, you know, provide services to ensure that BigCommerce is more successful. Bam, right? So what's happening right now, the assumption that I'm going to make is that Arjun or James need my help. They have a team that need my help. And I'm also going to assume that those 5 or 6 recruiters, that they're really, really busy, right? They're really busy. They're doing the best that they can to try to keep up with this stuff, right? So I'm trying to connect with them too, because I'm urgently going, wow, that company is drowning. They need my help. I got to go work with them. I got to go find that. I got to help these people out. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the point where I can help them, because there's a bunch of people who are in the way who are just standing in line, and they're not helping at all, just standing in line. And I'm the guy who's got the urgency to go help, right? The other thing that we can assume, and this is very, very common, if you've ever been a hiring manager before, then what you know is that 80–90% of the time, the hiring managers don't feel like they're getting good service from the recruiting team, from HR, what have you. They're drowning in work. The job usually wasn't open until they're already overwhelmed. They start out behind the 8 ball. They're super busy doing all kinds of other things. They can't do their own recruiting. And in cases, sometimes Arjun may have just gotten yelled at by somebody else because they're going, what in the heck? You can't get those jobs filled. And they're going, what are recruiters? Right? And all that stuff is going on. Arjun gets back from the meeting, who just got chewed by the CEO because the IT team had been pulling their weight. And right there, as LinkedIn is the connection from you, you're that person. And they go, now lightning just strikes, because the world just brought them, the universe brought them serendipity. And you could possibly be having a conversation this afternoon because you skipped the whole thing and you got as close as you could to the front of the line, right? Does that make sense? What do you think, Leslie? Are we doing all right? People, questions, comments, anything about that kind of stuff?
So far, so good. Yeah, everybody's listening.
Okay.
Something else that I wanted to kind of interject with this is what we see a lot with, for example, Indeed. Sometimes we have folks send us resumes that they created on Indeed
Mm,
rather than the other way around. And what happens is it does not translate well. And the other issue is that, excuse me, that sometimes what will happen is when you try to import your already created resume into Indeed, it truncates the most important stuff that you're trying to convey, and you lose all that stuff, and therefore you're out. You're already out of consideration.
yeah. Yeah. Don't let Indeed reformat your resume. Like, just don't. And assume that it does, right? Just assume that it does. So you want to skip that and go there. Do you know how Indeed makes money? I mean, it all makes sense when you know how Indeed makes money. I am not judging Indeed. I think that they provide a great service. I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen, so it's not about that. But the way that they make money is that when I post a job, it's a pay-per-click. I get to tell them how much money I'm willing to pay per click, which has to do with how many times they're going to show it to people. And so the way that they make money is because people click the apply button. And so in their product management meetings and the rest, what they do is their focus is on what can we do to get people to view the job and click on the job, because they try to put it in front of the people who are going to click on it, because the way that they make it is not because I hire people or not because anybody who applies is actually qualified. They flat out make money because people click it. And the way that product management views improvement is that if whatever change they just made to the system encourages more clicks per job, then they just win. But as a recruiter, I don't want more clicks per job. I don't need more stuff. The thing that I don't need is more people, more resumes, and more of that. So just know that on the recruiting side and on the receiving end of things, what we don't need is more stuff. We're always in the process of finding our way through the stuff. And what's interesting is the work that you had to do, which wasn't much, to go find Arjun and James and those recruiters. By doing that and reaching out to them directly, you're actually exhibiting the kinds of behavior that they really usually want to select for, which is people who are really easy to work with, who do what it takes to get the job done and are reaching out. I remember one of my favorite and best hires ever was an individual who reached out to me. We were working on a Unix related position, and they sent me just a couple of line email messages that says, I eat Unix for breakfast and I'll work like a dog to make sure that all my work gets done better than anybody can imagine. I was like, wow, we got to go. Now, I'm not saying that everybody would necessarily respond positively to that, but the whole idea is people hire people, people engage with people. They're going to evaluate whether or not you're likely to be able to be wildly successful in the future. And the behavior that it takes to do the work that I'm just showing you, to go find these people and reach out to them and not be the person who stands in line with your hands folded waiting, makes you more interesting, makes you more attractive. And what I can tell you is it's not just the fact that you're getting yourself to the line faster. I can tell you that those people who are engaged in conversation, even if they're shy. It has nothing to do with shy or outgoing. I mean, I'm pretty outgoing, and I don't mean you have to be like me. But what I do sometimes want is people who are willing to move forward, willing to do what it takes. And I promise you that by doing what it is it takes, there will be something about the fact that you did that right off the bat is going to give the people who you're reaching out to a favorable impression of you. Now, clearly it has something to do with the messages that you're sending out. If the message that you're sending out is needy, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have a job for me? No, maybe not, right? Maybe not. If your message that you send out to somebody is, hey, RN, I applied for a job online for the lead, whatever it is. I'm just touching base to make sure you got my resume. Needy, right? Okay, what you're begging when you send a message to someone and you say, hey, I applied for a job that's online, I'm also doing something, they're kind of going, well, just stand in line, or would you go to the end of the line? So the idea in general is that whatever you're communicating in your resume, every single word, every single phrase, the same thing on your LinkedIn profile, in an interview, every word that comes out of your mouth. And when you're reaching out to people like this, the words that are in your message and the phrases, just consider, is it likely that this is going to make someone more interested in me or less interested in me? And if you're not confident that it's going to make them more interested in you, then assume it's going to make you less interesting. And when you reach out to somebody and say, hey, I applied for a job that was online, in what way is that supposed to make them more interested in you? At best, it's going to have a neutral impact. At worst, you're begging them to say, well, go to the end of the line then. Would you stand there with your hands folded? Like, leave me alone. I'm busy, right? I'll get to you later. So just saying, right? I don't know that for a fact, but if you feel it the way that I feel it, and I've worked with, I don't know how many recruiters, hundreds, thousands, right? I mean, a lot. It's an interesting, busy job and the rest. I'm just saying that if you reach out to people, you're willing to help. And the notion of when the time is right, I would welcome a conversation to see how I might be able to create success for you and your team will go a really long way to somebody going, yes, I want to talk to you and work with you. This is the basis of an effective job search strategy, which is go find the people who need your help. And what you think of a job posting at is a marker, a signpost that says, there are people over here who need your help. Don't see it as the sign that I showed you at the beginning that says, go stand in line. That's not what it is. Well, let it be that for 99.99% of the people. Don't let it be that for you. Let it be the sign for you that you desperately need to go help someone and go find them and connect with them and get yourself to the front of the line. All right. I'm sorry, I get a little wound up sometimes. I just gotta care about this stuff. All right. Leslie, are we good? Can we move on?
We can move on. Yes, we've got some people that are formulating their questions. So once they get them in their heads, they'll type them in for us.
Okay, got it. All right. So what happens after you apply? I already talked about this. What happens after you apply is it goes into somebody's email, right? So I'm going to skip some things, right? What we didn't talk about is optimizing, and I shouldn't say, you know what, I'm going to edit this right now. People say keywords too much. It is not about keywords. It is about word matching. And what I mean is, if you're going to bother to apply online, and I'm not discouraging you from applying online, I'm discouraging you from going and applying online through Indeed and these different job boards and Glassdoor, heaven forbid Glassdoor. If you're from Glassdoor, we need to talk. But what you need to do is go apply directly on the company's website, and you get yourself a lot further ahead. You'll be in a much smaller set, and it's the easier set to work with. Now, regardless of which one of these systems you apply through, the majority of them these days are doing word matching. People talk about keywords. These systems are not that smart. All they're really doing is they don't look at and the and things like that, but I promise you, I've tested this with a lot of systems, that if the job description has the word unique in it and your resume has the word unique in it, your score will be higher, right? And so it's not keywords, it's what's the match between the words that are in your resume and the words that are in the job description. And the reason why it's that way is this: most of these applicant tracking systems are built by tiny teams of 10 or 15 people. They don't have the time to do it, quote unquote, right. I don't even think right would work. The HR professionals and others who are selecting these systems don't know any better. And somehow people have to deal with the onslaught. And so all they're doing is counting how many words match, and the more words that match, the higher you get ranked. Some of them will have it set off in Indeed. I should show you sometime. when I set up a job, I can say, here are the screening questions, here's the words, here's the criteria. You know, if their match on the resume, on the job description doesn't hit at least this threshold, then I don't even want to see them. So when you apply for a job online, the majority of people and the majority of resumes who are getting screened out happen right then and there before anybody ever even reads your resume, right? Which is another reason why it's a really good idea just to skip the whole thing and to go to the people who really need your help and the recruiters and the rest. And as a recruiter, I'm always thankful when somebody reaches out to me, because I'm kind of going, yes, now I don't have to go to the file. I got somebody who went to the trouble to find me, to talk to me, to engage in a conversation. Imagine that, right? So it will work well for you. The super short version, I'll show you a super short version of optimizing their word matching in your resume. And it's really, really simple. It's really simple. If you're spending much time customizing your resume, kind of don't, kind of don't. It's probably not the best use of your time. Cover more ground with less fidelity, right? Spending a bunch of time working on one reply to somebody, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's the strategy that I would use. But let me show you something. What I did was, you may have noticed, I went to, did I close that tab? Dang it. Shift Control T will bring my tab back. I'm trying to open a Word document. Where'd it go? Oh, it's right here. System Administrator. We'll do this one. So I'm in Google. If I was applying for this job, I would literally take this. I would take this job description and everything that's in it, and I'm gonna put that into my copy buffer. And I'm gonna come over to this. I don't have a resume, but I got a document that I'm gonna show you. It's just an empty document. My poor computer, the fan is running so hard right now. We're going to cross our fingers that it doesn't decide to put me in the dark again. And so what I'll do is I will literally paste that there. Didn't paste very nicely, did it? But it's super easy for me to now go through, right? I can go through and get rid of the R's and the Th's, and I'll spend 5 minutes on this. I'll go gatekeepers in the systems that run in our company and clients, system administrator, IBM. I can put IBM in my resume. Maybe nobody else is going to. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go through and I'm going to end up with just a list of words, right? They don't even have to be keywords. And I'll take that list of words that are going to match, and I'm going to put them in a block down at the very bottom of my resume. I'm not going to turn them white, because all the things that you think that you want to do to hide stuff in your resume, including gaps in your resume by not putting months on your dates, or all the things that you want to do to hide stuff, those of us who do this professionally know all of those tricks. And so, it starts out with kind of this, what do you think I'm not going to notice, right? So it doesn't serve you well to try to hide stuff, by the way. I would just put it down there, and I'd probably put block of words to better match, to the job description. Because by the time somebody gets to the bottom of your resume, which they're not at this point in the game, they're never going to read that far. They're going to decide earlier than that. And if they do, at best, they're probably going to go, hey, look at this person. They did what it took, right? They did what it took. And then what I would do is I would take the subset of those words that are actually relevant to the work that I do, and I would take those exact words and I would put them at the bottom of my summary in my resume, and I'll put that block there. So now all these words that include unique and future and other kinds of things that other people aren't going to have will be in my resume, not everybody else's, and my score is going to go up. The highest score you could possibly get is about a 99%. And the way you get a 99% is take the job description, put your name and contact information at the job description, right? And submit the job description as your resume. You're probably not going to get hired, but it would give you a 99% match. The only reason why it wouldn't be 100% is the job wouldn't have your name in it, right? Maybe, I've never tried it before. You could take the job description, put your contact information, and say, I do all this stuff really well. Let's talk. Might work. I would call you, but I don't think most people who do what I do would. Just saying, maybe they would. I don't know. Give it a try. Tell you what, if you apply one way and you don't hear anything for a while, then send them the job description, your name on it. What the hell? You're not going to lose them. You have nothing to lose at that point. All right. I hope everybody's with me. Are we doing all right? How are we doing?
We are doing all right. We've got a couple questions.
Okay, cool.
Well, first, actually, somebody said, you just made my day. So tired of customizing resumes. Seems pointless, even if I'm supposedly matching the ATS.
Yeah, it's pointless to do too much of it. Yeah.
And Gary, are you open to connecting with everyone on LinkedIn?
Oh, please. Yeah, please. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, right. In fact, I'll show you my URL. So please connect with me. In fact, most recruiters are. In fact, have you ever heard the rumor that you should only connect with people that you know on LinkedIn, right? Yeah, just ignore that. I mean,
Well,
connect with everyone. Connect with everyone. We have do a whole thing on leveraging LinkedIn. And one of the things I can tell you now is that if you don't have a pretty large network, you don't come up in search results. Because when I'm searching for people who are like you for roles that I'm working on, if you're not in my network, you don't come up in my search results. If you're first person connected to me, you come up higher in search results. And so a big part of leveraging LinkedIn is to search engine optimize your LinkedIn profile by using the titles that people search for, the locations that people are going to search for, and being connected to it and having a large network. So one takeaway from that is connect with recruiters in your area indiscriminately. You want to be connected to every single one of them, if for no other reason than when they search for you, you'll be in their network and you'll come up high in search results. And the kind of hiring managers who hire you for the roles that make sense for you, connect with them indiscriminately, like all of them, as many as you possibly can. It makes it so that when somebody's looking for you, you'll actually come up at the top of search results. So this is me, my LinkedIn profile right here. There's my thing, right? LinkedIn /n/ Gary O'Neill TX. So I wish we had a poll. What I could do is say, hey, do a poll, right? What do you think? Beard or no beard?
yeah, we could do a poll.
We could do a poll. All right. I've been debating that lately. Let's get back to this. Anything else? We can get back to the matter. Oh, beard. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yes.
Hey, Nora, I'm so sorry. Can other people hear me? I think other people can hear me. I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah, I was
There we
just
go.
going to let her know that she might need to log out again.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. It
All
looks
right.
like 2 votes for Beards.
Okay, cool. Are we good to go?
We are.
Okay, good. I hope I'm not all over the place too much. I'm a little bit manic today, but it's all good. So here's the deal, and I think I was just talking about this, so I actually think I'm in the place where I'm supposed to be, which is connect whenever you see it. And we're starting from the perspective of use the strategy, which is looking for jobs, find them on Indeed, find them wherever it is, apply directly, then go find the people, go connect with the hiring manager, go connect with the recruiters, go connect with people in HR, and go connect with peers. Go connect if you're looking at a system administrator job or a medical coding and specialist job or whatever it is. Go connect with the other people who are in those jobs and say the same thing. Hey, hi Lisa, I'm a medical coding and billing specialist. When the time is right, if people are joining your team, I would welcome a conversation to see my about help. By the way, do you get a referral bonus? Question mark. Right? I mean, why not? And now what happens is Adam, who never thinks about the referral bonus program at all, goes, hey, I think that we do. And somebody just landed in my lap and yeah, okay, let's go. So why not? Because your peers need your help. Your future peers need your help. Your future hiring manager needs your help. The people in HR and the recruiter need your help. How dare you not reach out to them? Are you kidding me? Get after it. There are people who need your help. And if you don't help them, somebody else will. And in the meantime, they're going to have to wade through all the piles of people who applied through Indeed and their resume got all reformatted and stuff like that. Save their life, right? I mean, help them out. All right, I'll stop with that. I believe in politely persistent follow-up messages. Here's the reason why. Especially recruiters are insanely busy. If you've never done the job, it's an insanely busy job. When I have teams of people who are working with me who are doing sourcing and outreach, and I have people who are doing resume review and all these different functions. I mean, for a single job, we'll reach out to, I was talking to one of the people who works closest with me just the other day on this one particular job. I mean, she's reached out to 450 people, right? On another job we were looking at, 375 people had applied for that job that we had waded through, and another 400 we haven't even looked at, right? And so, and in any given day, somebody who's doing some of the resume review things, they may look at and review 300 to 400 resumes a day, which would mean they're moving fast. It means by the end of the day on Friday, their eyes are bleeding. And so politely persistent follow-up messages are great because the assumption should be not that this person is disinterested in you, but the assumption is that they're so busy because you're not there right now, they're having to do too much stuff, right? So I think that, one outreach message is flat out not enough. What harm does it do? Now, let me pause for a second. I do understand and appreciate that I can pick up the phone and have random conversations with people, and most people can't or don't want to. I also recognize that you've probably had the unfortunate experience of somebody being creepy and doing something that made you feel uncomfortable when they're reaching out to you. And if you translate that into, therefore, I shouldn't reach out to people because I don't want to be creepy, just consider that it wasn't the fact that they reached out to you, it's how they reached out to you. Just don't be creepy in how you reach out to people, right? I mean, and the simplest way to not be creepy is to genuinely be in the mode of trying to help. I mean, genuinely in the mode of trying to help. And so when I follow up with people, right, it's more like this, right? And by the way, these messages I'm about, I skipped a step. The message I'm about to do, or once somebody's connected with me and I have their email information, right? I have their email information. I'm messaging with things like this, and you don't have to use these exact words, but the feeling of it. Hi, my name's Gary O'Neill. I'm a certified network administrator and IT security specialist to help companies, in this case, get the most out of their computing investments. And what I have there is a generic thing. If I was responding or sending this as a response to a job description that I read, I'd probably say, I help companies copy and paste something out of the job description, bam, right there, so I can use their own words. And again, the assumption is I can actually do this work. Don't apply for jobs that you can't do the work. Like, people waste my time all the time with that. Please don't. I've heard that you might be seeking high performance network administrators motivated to solve this, and that issues, right? There's another way. I didn't say I saw a job that's posted, but I did hear that you might be. And then, I'm going to say thanks so much and welcome the opportunity to, to see how I might be able to help. My next message that I sent next week might be something like this. Hey, I'm following up from a message I sent last week. I know you're busy. I don't mean to be a bother, just networking, find a new career opportunity with the company you can use my help. I'm a certified network administrator and IT security specialist. If you're currently not hiring, perhaps you might know someone who is. And, you can stop at some point, but, what I always do is I don't want to be a bother. So this will be my last message. And from when I'm doing sales or when I'm reaching out to people or what have you, I find that it's not uncommon that I get the response to the third message. And sometimes the response is, I'm so sorry. I've been meaning to get back to you. I've just been busy. It's amazing. I mean, I've just been busy, because their experience was, whoa, look at this person reached out to me. That's kind of stuff. Wow, I'm busy. I'll do something with that. And they forget. And then I really need to get back to them. And then the third one, like, hang on, wait, right. And yeah, so, why not? So, to whatever degree, just craft the messages so that you feel comfortable with them. And I think the secret in it is that you're reaching out to the world with true caring to help other people. And I believe that from an effective job search strategy perspective, that the name of this session is wrong. I would suggest that you never look for a job. I think that that has the wrong feeling to it. I think that you go look for people who you can help. And so this really ought to be called effective ways to find people who need your help, right? Because if I go to somebody and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, I saw the job that was posted, I'm kind of slightly in that mode of taking and needing, right? It's just, maybe it's subtle, but I believe it makes a massive difference in terms of, how you can feel about it, the way that you'll craft the messages and things of that nature. I think that, hey, I saw a job that was posted online, doesn't help you much, right? I mean, yeah, okay, fine. You applied, we'll get to you later. So, all right. Let's talk about some other stuff, and then I'm going to show you some other really cool techniques. All right, so what we're talking about is effective job search strategy, and we started with this whole idea of don't just apply for a job, get yourself to the front of the line, find the people who need your help, and every single time you find a job that's posted online, go find the recruiters, go find people in HR, go find peers. I didn't show you finding peers, but you can go find peers, and you can go find, oh, here's the thing I didn't show you, and you can go find hiring managers. Now what happens is that when they connect with you, let me just show you this other thing in LinkedIn. So here's what I do as a recruiter. And me and one of the other recruiters I work with regularly were just talking about that yesterday, as a matter of fact. So what I can do is I can click on my network, and it's coming up very slowly, very slowly. Hey, Jeremy, there you are. Good to see you. Edward, hi. Bernard, hey. All right, come on. And then, oh, here we go. I was gonna say, in the meantime, I'll just do this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click up here in terms of manage my network. They just changed all of this. So what I can do is I'll just click my connections. And what I can do is, oh, cool, Matt Maspit accepted my connection request, right? So what I can see is these are the people who connected with me recently. Most of them I've already cleared out, but this person connected with me 20 hours ago, a day ago, 2 days ago, right? And so I don't do a lot of this level of recruiting. I do a lot of the other things and our stuff, so I'm not as active in doing this kind of work as some of the other people on my team. But I do it, and I can go back and I can see who's connected with me. And now that Scott Postma has connected with me, what I can do is I can go look at Scott Postman's profile. And let's say that he was a hiring manager, recruiter, or something for a role that I'd seen that was posted online, and he had accepted my connection request. Super nice guy, Scott Postman, by the way, senior UX designer, team lead at IBM Cloud. And what I can do is, come on, I'm so sorry, it's so slow. I'm going to click contact info right here, which this button isn't here if I'm not first person. See, I'm first person connected with Scott because he accepted my connection request. And I can go get his there it is. scottpostma@gmail.com. I just have I got his email address, and I'm going to copy his email address and bang. If he didn't want me to have it, he would not have put it in his LinkedIn profile, right? If Scott did not want me to email him at that email address, he would not have put it there. What's he thinking? I mean, don't put it there if you don't want me to email you. There it is. I see it. And by the way, not only that, do you know how many people reach out to him because they connected with him on LinkedIn or reach out to him as a direct message through Twitter? None. You'll be the only one who does. Well, besides me, none. You know how many people reach out to him, just call him? None, right? None. But why did he put this information here if he wasn't okay with somebody using it? Must be, right? Okay, cool. Now, the reason why I'm going to reach out to Scott through LinkedIn rather than message here is that this message is going to come when I send it. Scott probably rarely logs into LinkedIn. He probably has his email set. Statistically, he's got it set where all messages from LinkedIn go into, you know, some archive or something like that, because he got tired of seeing all of them coming in because people are bugging him and they think that they're a social media site. So a lot of people filter all their email that they get from LinkedIn into a place where they don't see it, right? And so by messaging here on LinkedIn, my chances of him paying any attention to me are so much lower than if I email him. So I'm going to open up my email. I'm going to send a message to his Gmail address. I'm going to say up at the top, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. Hey, Scott, we recently, appreciate you, accepting my connection LinkedIn. I'll probably send him a message here. I'll send a message over to you in LinkedIn as well. I hope you don't mind that I've reached out to you here as well. I'm a senior network administrator and that kind of stuff. I help problem solve these kinds of problems. When the time is right, or I'm doing a little bit of networking when the time is right, or welcome a conversation or whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'm going to send it through email, right? If you don't feel comfortable with that, that's cool. Then do it right here. Do it through LinkedIn. If it feels less intrusive to you, then that's all good to do it through here. Just know that by choosing to send a message through here as opposed to Gmail, that your chances of that individual actually getting it, I don't know what the percentages are, but it's a lot less, right? It's a lot less. I get so much more stickiness and responsiveness by people when I reach out to them through email or through Twitter or through some other aspect other than messaging them here, because so much of that just goes into to people's nowhere land. So the other thing, so the point is, we connected with people, and the way that we know that they actually connected to us is by going and looking in our connections, right? And kind of going, look, I'm reaching out to all these recruiters like Robert, this person connected with me. Awesome, right? And you could message them right here. You could take that as the first step if you want to, and then, and then move on with that. Now, the other thing that I can do is that, well, it doesn't matter. I was going to show you, you can see the people you send a connection request to and they haven't accepted it, but you don't want to go do that. You don't want to bother with all that. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Other things that you can do to have an effective job search strategy is to have a resume that rocks. We have a session on resume that rocks. I think I have a short version of that right here. Instead of just reading you this list of stuff that you can read yourself, and I think there's a handout that you can grab that has all these slides. Let me tell you really what a resume that rocks is. One litmus test is that if somebody could take your summary and copy and paste it onto their resume, then it's not a resume that rocks, because it's super generic. And that's the problem we as recruiters have, is that everybody's resume is exactly the same. I mean, what you're going to tell me in your summary is that I'm an effective leader that is able to work cross-functionally across teams. You know, I have skills in this, that, and the other, and I work hard. I'm just saying that they're so much the same, right? You know, strategic leader able to have high impact on whatever, right? I mean, yeah, so is everybody, right? So is everybody. And so a good litmus test for you on your resume is that if another person in the world could copy and paste stuff out of your resume and put it into theirs with very little editing, then you do not have a resume that rocks, because it doesn't represent you. It represents generic human being who does the things that you do, and everyone's generic human being who does the thing when they do. When I'm at the point where I'm just looking at resumes because they're every single one of them the same, and it makes me crazy, right? So that's number one. Number two is that your resume needs to tell a story. And the story that your resume needs to tell starts at the bottom of your resume and brings you up to present. And that's where your work experience in. That brings me up to present. And then the summary section of your resume tells me about where it is that you're going. So make your resume tell a story from beginning to present to the future. So it's upside down, right? That it starts with what's your future. So if you're in career transition, and let's say you've been a nurse and now you're transitioning into IT or medical billing and coding or business administration, it does not serve you to say, well, I'm a nurse transitioning in IT. If I'm hiring people in IT, I want people who are IT professionals, and I'll wish you well. And when you become one, let me know. So your summary of your resume needs to be about the future, not your past, because your work experience is going to talk about your past. And it's such a short document. I don't need a short version of a short document. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So tell a story. Final thing I have to say about your resume telling a story from the bottom to the top is that one of my first real jobs was I was a software engineer at working on Space Station Control Center on the back end, doing synchronous and asynchronous message handling and all kinds of stuff, if that means anything to you. So really complex stuff. And so 98% of what I did was either write code or lead people to write code, but I also did training, and I also did stuff, and I also built teams, and I also hired people, and I also interviewed people, and I also stuck my nose into all kinds of places where it didn't belong. But about 2% of what I did was involved in hiring and managing and leading teams. If that was on my resume, I wouldn't use my title that was like senior software engineer, because that's not relevant to what I do today. I would change it to team lead, right? And when I described that job from way back then, I would probably not talk about writing software. I would probably talk about highly technical with a deep understanding of technology, software, and IT infrastructure, built teams, including those kinds of people and that kind of stuff, right? I would talk about what I did that was relevant to what I do today and where it is that I'm going, because most of what I did in that job has nothing to do with what it is that I do today, except for I'm a really good technical recruiter because I really understand the technology. What most people do in their resume when they're talking in the past is that, you know, mostly you have a job title, and then you give me 3 or 4 bullet points that give me the descriptions of the tasks you performed in that job title. And a controller will tell me, well, you know, I was responsible for banking relationships and accounts receivable and accounts payable, and I read out all the financials. So you're the controller. Of course, that's what you did. So if you find that your resume is really nothing more than a list of tasks and a bunch of little teeny tiny job descriptions of disjoint jobs along the way, yeah, that's not a resume that rocks. So it's about telling a story from the past to the present, then projecting out in the future how you're going to be successful. And in that past part, you're really only talking about the stuff that's really relevant, and there's always something that's relevant. And usually what's relevant about your past is not necessarily the details of what you did, but the characteristics of how you behaved and how you performed and those kinds of things. So your resume is about the truth. It's about nothing but the truth, but it's not necessarily about the whole truth, because if you're like most people, the whole truth isn't necessarily very relevant. All right. So that's a resume that rocks. It also is clear, simple, and concise. Right? Write it, dumb it down, right? Dumb it down, make it really, really simple. Remember that the person who's looking at your stuff, is their eyes are bleeding. They've seen 300 resumes today. They spend 10 seconds on it. Better be clear and concise. Matching words and phrases, right? Uses their language where you can. You know, highlights results and transferable skills. You know, it tells a story, right? So that's a resume that rocks, and it tells your story, and nobody else could put their name on your resume, because if somebody else can put your name on your resume, you're just like everybody else, and you're easy to say no to, right? You're easy to say no to if you're just like everybody else. Yeah, it's just, yeah. And yet another one. All I know is when I reject you, there's another one waiting. There's another one waiting. There's another one waiting. that might make you uncomfortable, but I'm not here to do anything other than tell you the truth, right? And to tell you how this works, right? I'm telling you how it works. All right. Other things you need. I think you need a professional brand. I think that you need, and what I mean by professional brand, I hate elevator pitch as a phrase. I don't know why. I just got this weird thing with it, but it's the short version of your story. And I'm going to give you a paint by numbers version of it right now. And what I mean by paint by numbers, and we go into this in more detail in the resumes at our class, but and this is all part of an effective job search, right? To have an effective job search, you need to be able to state your professional brand or your mission statement or your elevator pitch or whatever it is you want to call it. But the notion is, when I ask most people, so tell me a little bit about themselves, their answer is not great. And so let me give you something that's great. And the reason why I call it paint by numbers is that I don't expect you to use it exactly like this, like try it and then paint it again and then paint it again and then paint it again. And once you've massaged it a bunch of times, it's something that'll rattle right off your tongue and fit well on paper. And what it does is it tells the story of where you're going, and it has maybe very little to do with where you've been. The other thing I can tell you about this story is the reason why this story exists is because I present individuals to hiring managers all the time. In fact, just this morning before the session, I wrote up 2 messages to a hiring manager about some people that I'm presenting to them that I want them to talk to. And this is the format that I've created that works, because when I get paid because people get hired. And my likelihood of getting paid goes up when I use this format, because it's just a really good format for an introduction. And if you introduce yourself this way, but when I introduce candidates this way, I get paid more, which means that if you introduce yourself this way, you'll get hired more, right? So here's how it goes. My name is blank. I am a Title I and a Title II. If you're responding to a job description, it's the title that was on the job description, with this thing that makes me unique. I help this kind of person or this kind of company solve this, that, and the other problem. My skills include this one, that one, and another one, and I'm ready to make this stuff happen, right? That's the basic version. Here's an example of it. My name is Gary O'Neill. I'm a certified network administrator and IT security specialist with CompTIA A+, Network Security Plus, and MCSE certifications. Quick aside, sidebar. If you're in career transition, certifications are really, really helpful, because it lowers somebody's risk, because out of the set of all people that I might be hiring who have certifications, there are very few of those who don't at least have a clue what they're doing. And all the sort of people who don't is a lot higher risk. So it reduces my risk as a recruiter and a hiring manager. If you're in career transition that you have certifications, that's what they're all about. So that's what makes me unique. With CompTIA A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, and MCSE certifications, I help companies keep users productive, minimize IT costs, and protect company IT assets and data assets. Notice that this stuff that I'm putting here, the problems that I solve, are always one notch above the work that I do. So as a recruiter, what I would say is I ensure that companies can hire more than their fair share of top performers, to ensure that we really consider, or we're able to reach out to all of the people in the area who might be qualified, interested, and available, and ensure the future success of the company by hiring people who are going to make great decisions. And all of those are the result of what it is that I do, right? I'm going to be the only person who talks in the results to the business in terms of what I do, especially if I'm in IT or medical billing and coding or administrative kinds of things. If you're, say, going into administrative business administration, I help and combine them together. You're applying for a business administration at a medical office, I help busy medical offices, stay productive, ensure customer satisfaction, make sure that their, insurance filings are correct and accurate, right? So it's always a notch above the work that you do. As a result of the work that you do, what's better, right? And now I drop into the work that I do. My skills include server administration, desktop support, network security management. I'm ready to join an organization where effective IT management can make a significant difference to business success. This essentially becomes the summary on your resume. It becomes your cover letter. It becomes the words that come out of your mouth. This becomes your story. And notice that if I was in career transition, I didn't say anything about the fact that, well, I used to be a such and such. This is a pure projection into the future, because the reason why somebody hires you is actually not because of your past. It's because of their ability to project you being successful in the future. And if you think that other people can do that, you're asking a lot of them. It's very difficult for someone to do. So why not paint the picture for them? And since this goes at the top of your resume, then what happens is, if you were hiring a network administrator, right? And that's all you're looking for, I mean, would you talk to this person? Yeah, you probably would, and you haven't even looked at their history. There's this thing called confirmation bias. What we see, what we like, we look for more evidence that we like it. So put the future up at the top of your resume, and you start out as a high likelihood of the kind of person that they want to hire. And then as they look at your background, they're looking for reasons to like you, not reasons to dislike you, right? Okay, that's how that works. This one we already talked about, which is don't just apply, because when you apply for a job, you apply at the end of the line. What you want to do is there's a couple of things you can do. Set up an automated search to apply quickly. And what I mean by an automated search is on Indeed and Google's job search boards and a lot of the others. You can set it up so that it will send you a message when a new thing that matches comes out, right? Google's particularly good at that. And so what happens is if I'm going to post a job this afternoon, I am, right? After I get off of this, I'm going to write it up. I'm going to post a job. I don't like it, but I'm going to. And what's going to happen is I'm going to post it about 2 or 2:30, and by 4 o'clock, I'll have had 30 people apply for the job. Before I'm done for the day, and a person who I work with, we're going to go look and kind of see the first set of people who applied, and we'll probably go, oh, wow, okay, that person, yeah, I'd like to talk to them. Nah. Oh yeah, I'd like to talk to them. And what's going to happen is the person who I work with is, before the end of the day, we're going to look at those people. They're going to send out messages to the 6 that I want to talk to. She's going to set them up for interviews for me next week. And that's all the space that I've got. I have no more. And so by Monday, when another 80 people have applied, we're going to not do anything with that. We're going to pause the job. And what we're going to do is, because we're so busy doing other kinds of things, I'm going to wait until Wednesday or Thursday next week when I've got these other interviews going. If 3 or 4 of those people are really, really strong, I'll never get to the other pile, right? So sometimes applying quickly can matter. Not always, but it helps, right? Connect to the recruiter, connect to the hiring manager, send LinkedIn messages and send email messages after they connect. Check for other ways to connect with them through LinkedIn, through recruiter, through Twitter, through whatever it is, right? If they use those things, then you'll be the only person who reaches out to them that way. You'll get their attention. If you're brave enough, reach out by phone, politely persistent follow-ups. I want to tell you one quick story about reach out by phone. I'm really easy to get a hold of, and rarely do I get a phone call. Rarely does anybody bother. I even, on my job post, I even say skip to the front of the line and send an email message directly to her, and I give my phone number, right? Nobody calls me. But I did one time. I had a job for a graphic artist or something like that. And we had run the drill where a bunch of people came in. I interviewed 15 of them. Of the 15 of them, there were 3 that were great, right? I'd gotten them presented over to the client. And then 2 people bothered to call me, surprisingly enough. They bothered to call me. I had an interesting, engaging conversation with them. Those 2 additional people got presented when they wouldn't have it all otherwise to the client. And one of those 2 people is the person who got hired. So, yeah, so go connect with people, right? Don't just apply for the job and wait. Everybody waits. Just don't be everybody. That's kind of the moral in the story of your resume and stuff. Don't be everybody. Don't wait in line. Don't be everybody. Just don't do that. Waiting is not a strategy. All right. Let's talk about Leslie, are we good? Are we still good? Can we keep rolling? We got questions? Do you have
Yeah,
comments?
we're good. We're good for now.
What's your phone number, Gary? Go find it.
You're
Go
getting a
find it.
fan club here
It's
for
not
sure.
it's not too hard to find, quite frankly. It's not too hard to find. Don't call me right now though, because I think I forgot to silence my phone. I'm certain that I
Yeah.
forgot to silence my phone. I'm silencing my phone right now.
Yeah, and you'll get to your connection requests after this,
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
imagine.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's talk about something different. So everything we've been talking about up to this point is predicated on the fact that you saw that a job that was posted online. So my question for you is, what was happening before the job was open and posted? What was happening? And I'd love for some comments here because I'm looking at the questions things. What was happening in the weeks and months prior to the job being open and the job being posted, right? What was happening? What do you imagine was happening? Someone left. Yeah, could be someone left. Absolutely. People needed help. Yeah, they needed help and they were busy, right? And they didn't have approval to hire anyone. They were drowning. They were drowning is what was happening before sometimes, right? What else? They were filtering through for certain words. Sure, right? People needed help and were busy. What else? What was happening before the job was ever open and was posted, right? All right. If anything else interesting pops up there, then let me know. The company
Yeah,
was going down. Yeah, could
company
be company
growth.
growth, right? The truth is we don't know exactly what was happening, but here's what I can tell you for sure is I'm this weird, curious guy who asks a lot of questions. And for at least 10 years now, I've been regularly asking hiring managers, hey, I'm just curious, for how long have you known you're going to need to hire somebody on your team? And they're like, oh, well, I didn't really know because, I mean, Anthony just quit and all that kind of stuff. It's like, did you know? How long ago did you know Anthony was going to quit? Well, yeah, yes, man, right? Or how long did you know that you were going to have to let XYZ person go, right? I don't care what the answer is. What I'm telling you is that most of the time, hiring managers recognize 2, 3, or 4 months before they have approval to hire that they need to bring somebody on board their team. I mean, they just know, they already do. And what do you think they're doing about it? Nothing, right? They're doing nothing about it. So normally what happens in companies, and if you're ever in a company or in a hiring manager, just stop this. This is one of the most foolish behaviors ever, which is, I see it all the time, urgent hiring. The idea of just-in-time hiring is a ridiculous idea because people are not widgets. It's not like a supply chain. I see people trying to compare recruiting to a supply chain all the time. It's like, you know what? If you're buying 10,000 capacitors, you want all 10,000 of those capacitors to be identical. If you're hiring 10,000 people, you actually want them to be different, right? And it just doesn't work that way. So companies wait way too long. And if you're hiring in a hurry, you're hiring average, right? And so this urgent thing happens, but the hiring manager knew months in advance. Companies freeze hiring sometimes. Yep, sometimes they do. Everything happens. Everything you can imagine happens. It all happens, right? Um, Here's the deal. The fact that a company has a problem is your opportunity. Sometimes it's a good problem. Sometimes it's a bad problem. We're growing. We need more help. Sometimes it's a bad problem. This thing's on fire, right? All kinds of different, but unless a problem occurs, there is no opportunity. And hiring managers generally recognize a problem months in advance before there's even permission. So what happens is a problem appears, they try to reorganize. They're trying to reorganize. They're trying to get it done with the existing resources. They start trying to say to the CFO or to their bosses or somebody, hey, we need to hire some help. And so then management says to them, if you can't get it done with just the resources you have, we can probably hire somebody who can, right? And all these things, all those dynamics happen. But what almost always happens is let's reorganize, let's try to get it done, let's work more time, let's do all this kind of stuff. And the problem gets worse. This is what I call a future job, which is a hiring manager or members on a team who already know they really need to hire someone. This is a future job. It's going to be a job. It just isn't yet. And here's the deal. If you were to reach out to a hiring manager who recognizes that there's a future job, or even a peer who recognizes that there's a future job, there's a good chance they might engage with you and they might begin to have a conversation with you. The truth of the matter is it's a whole lot easier to go get a job open when, as a hiring manager, instead of getting a job open, you say, hey, I'd like you to meet Sally. Sally is somebody who's really good at those kinds of things, and they actually introduce a person. And instead of going and saying, I want to open a job, I want to hire a person, is a much shorter path, an easier path for a hiring manager to get permission to hire, right? So this is a future job. And my point is that if you were connecting and reaching out to these people when they recognize that they need to hire somebody before there's even a job open, then you're not only at the front of the line, you created the line, right? You created the line, and it's a line of one, it's you, right? All right. Now what happens is time passes. They don't work on it. Nobody reaches out to them. The problem gets worse. They know Tony's going to quit. They know, right? They're just waiting for Tony to quit. And they're not doing anything about it, which just shocks me, but that's how it goes. Eventually they'll seek budget, right? Eventually they'll seek budget. Eventually they'll try to get permission to hire. And somebody says, okay, you can hire somebody. Lots and lots of hiring managers have no support. They have no help. There is no job that's posted. They have no recruiter. They have nothing other than a need. They're so busy and their team's so busy, they don't do anything about it. They're just praying that serendipity happens, which serendipity is you sending them a message and connecting with them, by the way. They're hoping that somebody will come help them. You're the person who needs to go find them and go help them, right? Go help them. They're hoping that happens for them. That's what's called a hidden job. A hidden job is essentially they have permission to hire, but nobody's working on it. They don't know about it. It's not posted. There's nothing that's going on, and the hole's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And the problem is as the problem grows and the time is going by, their need to hire somebody who is a perfect fit, so to speak, goes up. So over time, if you're in career transition or what have you, their need becomes so specific that they can't afford to hire somebody that doesn't fit the specific need anymore, and it gets even harder. So the easiest place for you to get engaged, particularly in your career transition, is months ago when they first recognized a need, because they still had some runway to deal with, right? And the other thing I can tell you about Tony, who they know that's going to quit, when the right person comes through the door, they're going to go, it makes it a whole lot easier for them to go ahead and get rid of Tony, right? A whole lot easier. So that happens pretty frequently too, because I found you, I want to work with you. And now that I know that there's you, I don't feel so bad about getting rid of Tony, who's just a cancer in the organization, right? You've ever worked with those before? Yeah, just don't be one. All right, cool. Now what happens is, after it's a hidden job, then what finally happens is the problem grows, it becomes an external search, somebody finally posts the job, now it's an open job, and now what happens is lots of competition. Lots of competition. You're now in line with 370 people. The majority of those people will never get looked at because they're going to get screened out by the applicant tracking system. The next set of people who make it through the applicant tracking system are going to get reviewed by fresh out of college person who doesn't know the difference between a product manager and project manager. And I don't expect them to, but somehow companies think that somehow that they can, right? So the next level of screening isn't usually any better. And so the majority of people, when you apply for a job online, the large majority of them never make it past the point of some junior person or some screening tool screening you out. That's where you get screened out the majority of the time, right? So that's what happens, right? If your primary job search strategy is around reaching out to people, even when there's an open job, I'm telling you that you're in a space that's highly competitive. And statistically, there's going to be somebody in line who leaps taller buildings than you leap, and they leap them faster and cheaper than you leap them, right? So just don't be part of the statistic. Don't be in a line. Go create the line if you can, right? So it's about this, right? In the future job space, you actually create the line. Then what happens is, sometime, even without you doing that, a hiring manager gets approval to hire right here. And during this point where they have approval to hire, but nobody's actually working on it, a job isn't posted, which is most jobs that are open right now. Most jobs that are open right now are not posted. The majority don't know the number. Nobody can know the number exactly, but I'm confident that it's less than 20%. These are all the hidden jobs in the world. They get filled eventually because either somebody knows somebody or what have you, or something happens, somebody stumbles across, or you reach out to them, right? Or you reach out to them. And then eventually what happens, they get help with hiring, the job is posted, it becomes heavy competition, and you're now in compete mode. And yeah, statistically, you're probably not the fastest runner in the race, right? Only one person is. And the truth is, you do sometimes say it's not always the, when there's a line of 375 people who've applied for the job, what do you think? I mean, nobody has time, and it would cost too much money to talk to everybody. So it's the front of the line that actually even gets considered. It's sliced and diced by all that kind of stuff. But at some point, it's not just that somebody's good enough, but statistically, if you had, if you were really considering 30 people out of a line of 370, that's less than 10%. Statistically, somebody who's better, faster, cheaper for the role is back there in the line, is never going to be considered. Don't be that person, right? Don't be that person anymore, right? All right. So here's the deal. When you're in the compete mode, that means it's an open job. When you're finding jobs that are posted online, it's an open job. It's a heavy competition. You have to assume that it's heavy competition, right? Here's the deal. Don't just apply for a job. Have a great professional brand statement. Have a resume that rocks, that tells your story, up to your compelling story about where it is you're going in the future. Leverage LinkedIn. Be super easy to find. Go find the people who you really need to help. Reach out to them and see whether or not you can't help them, right? And get yourself to the front of the line. And then we got to ace our interview. And all of this stuff, honestly, it isn't that hard. It's not that special. Most people in their resume, and most people in their interviews, and most people through, because they don't go into job search mode very much, they do it so not great that it's not that hard to stand out. It's really not that hard to do it because it's not that hard. So all of this stuff, job search is a skill that everybody can learn, and everybody can be better at it. And why would you expect that you're going to be awesome at it when it's not something you do every single day? But I see it every single day. So that's the reason why I'm here. So when you're competing, yeah, do this stuff. All right. There is no line before the job is open and posted. There's no line. There's no line. In fact, when it's approved, but it's not posted and they're not working on it, the hiring manager is hoping, right? They're in hope mode. So what's happening after approval, but no help and no posting? They're hoping, hey, does anybody know anybody? And sometimes they do. And if they don't, then they're just trapped, right? And so here's the deal. Be easy to find, leverage LinkedIn with a search optimized profile. Let me show you this stuff. It'll be a whole lot easier. Let me just show you. So here's the thing. I would never discourage you for going and looking at open jobs. I would never ever say don't do that ever. So I've been accused of that before. I'm not suggesting that. But what I do suggest is that in addition to that, you do something different, which is this. So you know, I went out there, I searched for jobs, and I found the people associated with those jobs, right? And now let me show you something different to do. Join us for leveraging LinkedIn. We go into this in exhaustive detail, but I want to show you just the short version right now. So the super shortcut version of finding people who need your help is to go find people who are already doing what you do, because when you find people who are already a company doing what you do, what you know is that company has the kinds of problems that you solve, or they wouldn't have anyone doing it. And then people say, yeah, but how do I know if they're hiring? And the answer is you don't. But statistically, you might be able to, because let's say, you know, a lot of you are in IT. What I can tell you in IT is that, you know, particularly like system admin jobs in Austin, Texas, I don't know about where it is you are, but all you have to do is like 20 or 30 of them. You could probably see that the average length of employment in there is less than 3 years. So you can kind of go, all right, however many people there are that do that kind of work, a third of them per year are going to be changing jobs. And then what happens is they're, you know, divide that by 12. That's how many jobs are changing per month, and recognize that majority of those people were looking for 2 or 3 months. And you can now know about how many hiring managers are hiring. If there's 1,000 people who do what you do, and they're changing jobs once every 3 years, 333 of them are changing jobs this year. That means about 30 of them, a little less than 30 of them are changing jobs this month, which means that 30 hiring managers are hiring people, or maybe a little less than 30 because maybe they're hiring more than one, but probably not. And that means that 2 or 3 months before, those hiring managers knew, which means there's about 100 hiring managers. If there are 1,000 people who do what you do, there are about 100 hiring managers who either are currently hiring or have an open hidden job or know that they're going to. So you can figure in any particular marketplace, if the turnover in that area is about 3 years, which is not uncommon, then about 10% of all hiring managers are already aware of the fact that they need to hire somebody, or they already have permission to hire somebody. It's a hidden job, or it's in heavy competition and the recruiters aren't doing any good for them. So all you got to do is reach out to those 100 hiring managers. So it's a piece of cake. Let me show you. So in LinkedIn, if I go up here, this is the short version, join us for resume, leveraging LinkedIn. I'll show you more. But in the interest of time, when I go up here in my search, if you can see my little thing up here, right? It's up there. I clicked on search. And when I clicked on search, I search for people, right? And now when I search for people, I click all filters. And now what I do is I'm going to go search for peers, because I want to see who hires people like me. And what I'm going to do is, well, let's go try Houston. Oh, I didn't mean current companies. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to change cities. I'm going to go to Chicago. Might ought to go somewhere smaller, but this will make my point. Chicago. And I go title. So if I'm a system administrator, I'm going to say, how many people have the title system administrator in Chicago? My network is not big up there. I know that's bigger than that, but 683, right? 683. This is a good example of how important it is to build your network, because the number of people that come up in your search results is a direct function of how many people are in your network. My network in Chicago isn't that large. And so, but I still got 683 of them, right? And so what I could easily do as I go through this is I can go begin the process of connecting to these people who are peers. And as I'm connecting to these people who are peers, right, I don't have to open their profile. I know they're system administrators, right? I can hit that, I can connect, I can add a note if I want to. I don't necessarily have to. And I might say, hey, Mike, I'm a system administrator, always just trying to build my network. Hope all's good. Gary, click done, like whatever message you want to send, right? And I'm going to go connect. And it would, after I connect with about 253 of them, LinkedIn's going to start asking me for email addresses and stuff like that, or it's going to say, you know, be more discriminate about the people you reach out to, and it's going to stop you from reaching out today. Pat yourself on the back, do whatever treat you said you're going to do, because I love it when I get to the point where it won't let me send out any more connection requests, because dang, I did my job, right? I went and connected with these people. Now, the other thing you can do while you're doing that, though, is I can go see what companies hire system administrators. So what I know is HR Solutions does, RSM Gladtree does, Metropolitan Industries does, Sprout Social hire system administrators, Wells Fargo, Recondo and Associates, Clifford Law Offices, Magnetar Capital, Adler University, right? All of these places have system administrators. I can narrow my search if I wanted to, but Milliman Incorporated, Infusion LLC, Ascend HIT, InfoReach Data, Dark Container, you know, and the list goes on and on and on. And I didn't need TravelZoo. I didn't even open any single one of these profiles. I could make a note of all these companies, or if I wanted to work it at the same time, all I got to do is I can open Autobio. I bet he goes by Francis. Autobio's profile. Come on. Come on, Autobio. My point is, what I would do is I would go to TravelZoo. I would search for TravelZoo. I would search for people who are system administrators at TravelZoo. I would connect with them. I would then go find the hiring manager at TravelZoo, right? And the way I find the hiring manager at TravelZoo, you know, it's a piece of cake, right? If it would ever come up, I would show you. There's lots of ways to do it. But I would click on TravelZoo. It's gonna let me look at all the people who work there. I'll try to narrow it down to like an IT director or manager. I'll run a few searches until I find some people. I'm gonna connect with them. And then I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna do the same thing. And then after I do all my outreach, I'm gonna go to my network. I'm gonna see who's connected with me since yesterday, and I'm gonna go send them messages, right? So TravelZoo 473 on LinkedIn. So I can click that for TravelZoo. And now what I can do is when this comes up, I can go to all filters. So this is everybody who is on LinkedIn who works for TravelZoo. I scroll down here to title, and I'm going to put in IT. Come on. No results. So I'd narrow it down, right? I'd look for a director. I'd look for, they probably don't call it IT there. I'd look for technical. I'd look for whatever it is that, you know, they've got them. But I do a little bit of searching around. I would go find the hiring manager. I'd go find recruiters, and I'd go connect with them. I'd run the drill. I'd send all my messages out. I'd send all my connection requests out. You know, I mean, when you get fast at it, I mean, I can send out 200 an hour, right? I mean, when you get fast at it. And so once you've done that, then you go back to your network, you see who's connected with you yesterday, and now you follow with the next level of messaging. So the truth is, this is the way to really make it happen, right? And it's a lot of work. I get it, right? It's a lot of work, but one of the most important things in your life, or at least for most people, is a really, really great career opportunity. What you want is not just one job offer, you want multiple. And if you want multiple job offers, this is the way to go about it. And here's the deal. If I had a set of 1,000 people who would do this work that I'm talking about doing, and would reach out and go find people that can help, and have 1,000 people, you know what, I'm going to change it. I'm going to give you $1,000. Pretend. I'm pretending to give you $1,000, and you have to place a bet. You're going to get double or nothing. You can place the bet on the 1,000 people who are reaching out to people like this, or you can place your bets on the 1,000 people who are applying to jobs online and that's all they're doing. Which team are you putting your money on? It's a no-brainer, isn't it? So be on that team, right? It's just a decision. Just decide today, decide right now, be on that team, right? Not that the others, people are going to get hired over there, but not nearly as many, not nearly as fast, and for not nearly as interesting or good of positions. So that's the way that this happens. So let me go back to present mode. Leslie, I haven't talked to you for a while. How are you? Are things going all right? We got plenty of time. I think I've
Yeah.
told pretty much everything that I need to tell, but I'm going to flip through these and make sure that we're doing. But how are things?
Yeah. Things are good. Things are good. I'm actually about to share the handout that you shared with us.
Oh, cool.
I'm putting it into the chat. It's kind of a long link, but it will get you there. And I'd like to share it now because I'd like to know if any of you have trouble accessing that link as well.
Cool.
We're organizing this as we go a little bit sometimes, but yeah, ask some more questions. Gary, cover anything else you need to, and we'll have
Okay.
some questions by the time you're back.
Okay, cool. only want to share a couple. So I've shown you pretty much everything, right? That I really wanted to get across. And the whole notion is get to the front of the line, right? Get to the front of the line. The only thing that I didn't show you is that I would actually go so far as to pick up the phone and call some of these people. You know, if you don't want to do that, that's way okay, right? I get it that maybe that's crossing a line. And the truth is, if you're not comfortable reaching out and communicating with people, that will come through really clearly. And if you're not comfortable picking up the phone, the other person answers and you're kind of going, it's not going to help you. So you got to be, you got to be at least, I mean, push your comfort zone. I'm not saying you ought to be comfortable, but I think you know what I'm saying. But it's easy enough, for that Bridgestone Capital Group or whatever it wasn't all that big. I could have gone to their website. I could have gotten their phone number. When I get their phone number, if it's a big enough company, it's going to say, for a directory of extensions, please dial 8. And for the name of the person, it's going to say, for whatever the person I'm trying to reach, press 1, or press 1. And what's going to happen is it's usually going to go, hi, this is I'm away from my phone. Please leave a message. And I'll say, hey, I think you don't know me. My name's Gary O'Neill. I'm a network administrator and assistant and IT professional here in Austin, Texas. I help companies do this, that, and the other. Hey, I heard a rumor that you might be adding people to your team, and when the time is right, I'd welcome a conversation to see if I might be able to really help you and your team increase success and make your company a whole lot more successful. My number is this. I look forward to talking. I'm also going to send you an email message and the rest. So thanks so much. Take care. Bye. Right? I'm going to leave a message. It may be the case that I get them on the phone live. Hey, thanks so much. Tell you what, have you got just a second? Okay, cool. So the reason why I'm reaching out to you, my name is Gary O'Neill. The reason why I'm reaching out to you is that I'm IT, network professional, IT security specialist. I help solve problems like this. I'm doing a little bit of networking, right? I heard a rumor that you may be adding people to your team, and I don't mean to be a bother, but if the time is right, I'd certainly, when the time is right, I'd certainly welcome conversation, right? There's a chance that I'm meeting with them this afternoon, right? There's a chance that we're going to have that conversation right now. And if they're the kind of person, which is going to be really, really rare, that they're going to be bothered or upset or won't that hurt my chances if I applied for a job online too? I think the idea that it would hurt your chances is just hiding. No, because if they're the kind of person who is just going to not pay attention, is going to blow you off. One, they won't remember your name. When you come through the other way, they won't remember it at all. And besides that, maybe you don't want to work with them. Really? They would be rude to you while you're calling on the phone. You just dodged a bullet by not even waiting in line to go work with that person, right? So if you're brave enough, pick up the phone, go call. Yeah, you'll be able to go back and watch it. Somebody's asking about that. So let's talk about this for just a second. And what I want to do is I want to share one little short thing with you, which is, let's talk about target companies. What makes a good target company? And where I'm going with this is I see way too many people who are in job search modes who spend time on Glassdoor and they spend time doing a whole lot of research. And I want to go find the companies that I work with and all those things. I get it, but here's the problem. You can spend a bunch of time doing that work and never have a conversation with a person. And if you can't get response from anybody, you just wasted your time. And so rather than wasting your time with trying to research companies and stuff like that, just go connect with people, right? The companies don't exist. They're make-believe. You know that, right? There's no such thing as Dell. There's no such thing as SpaceX. It's a legal construct. There are people who work there, and it's those people who hire you, and it's those people who need your help. SpaceX doesn't do anything. It's a legal entity. It's the people who do that. So, but going back to target companies for just a second, what makes a good target company, what people always tell me is they have good benefits and they're growing, they're all that kind of stuff. And the truth is that usually people rattle off a list of things that they want. That is not what makes a company a good target company. What makes a company a good target company is they have the kinds of problems that you solve. If they don't have the kinds of problems that you solve, they're not going to hire you. And there are kind of two ways to identify target companies. One is use a known target company to find others, and the others that I showed you already, which is search for people like you, find out where they work and make a list of that. Those are companies that have the kinds of problems that you solve. And you have, well, are they hiring? I don't know. But go connect with the people anyway. At least 10% of those people, whatever the number is, if there's 1,000 people in your area that do whatever you do, 10% of the hiring managers right now are looking to hire someone, right? 10%. Well, how do I know which ones? You don't. Go connect to 100 of them. 10 of them are, right? 10 of them are. That's all you need. It's plenty. Where am I going? We've already talked about that. The other thing I can tell you while I'm flipping through, I'm sorry, I hope you're okay with me flipping through these slides. I kind of get ahead of myself. I already told you all these things. I just want to make sure that I'm covering all the stuff that I said that I was going to talk to you about, but already see, we already saw this slide even. Yeah, so everything that it is that I had to tell you is all about getting yourself to the front of the line. And the other thing I have to tell you about that is that no one can do it for you. I have this notion that some people believe that, that Leslie, who's in career services, and the teams you're working with have career services professionals, and the notion is they can help you be better at finding people, and they can help you make your resume rock. They can help you with your LinkedIn profile. They can help review things and the rest. But no one can go find a job for you. No one can write your resume better than you can. No one can reach out to others for you, and it's nobody else's job to go find a job for you. um, my suggestion is that the sooner you kind of get that all figured out and get this notion that if you get it in gear and you go reach out and you go out to the world and go find people who can do your help, magic happens when that happens. And so the onus is on you to go make it happen, right? Go make it happen. If it turns out that somebody happens to connect you with a company and a job that fits for you, and they try to help with that too, then consider yourself lucky, right? That was luck. That was good fortune that came your way. And of all of the stuff that happens sometimes through training, is that there's no question, if you're a career transition, that the IT training that you get, or the metal building and coding training that you get, or the business administration training that you get, or the project management training that you get is really, really valuable. It's jacks or better. I can't hire you for an IT position unless you know something about IT. Beyond that, the ability to run an effective job search is a skill that you can use throughout the rest of your career, and will make a significant difference if you do these kinds of things in terms of your long-term prospects for success. So, all right, that's kind of officially all I got to say about that. What else should we talk about? What questions should we answer? And I'm, what do you think, Leslie?
Well, we actually do have a question here.
Okay.
It says most jobs required the experience knowing that this is a transitional career for me. Sometimes I feel pushed away because the only experience I have is that of the training that I
Mm-hmm.
have done. What can I do to feel more comfortable finding my new job in IT?
Awesome. What a great question. It's a common situation. First of all, one of the things you already know, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is every single person who's in IT at one point in time had never had a job in IT, right? Every single one of them. So the millions of people who are in IT all were in your chair one time, right? Every single one of them. So, okay, so there's that. The other thing I'd like to share with you is that people confuse the notion of experience with being paid. So through your training and through getting your certifications and through the work that you've done, you actually do have experience, right? Did anybody pay you for it? No, you might have paid for it, right? But that has nothing to do with it. That, don't discount the experience that you gained in doing that, because it's legitimate and it's real. And the truth is that it doesn't even matter how much experience you have. It's a matter of, do you believe and do you know for sure that in the kinds of roles you might would be applying for, that you're going to be able to do a good job, right? Are you going to be able to do the work? Are you going to be able to make it happen? And if you got good training and you know that you're going to be able to, then you've got everything that you need. The other thing I can tell you is that years of experience and things like that is the least useful requirement and the least useful thing that it's commonly used, but it means nothing, right? What does it mean to have 8 years worth of experience? What does it mean to have 3 years worth of experience? What is it that a person with 3 years of experience can do? What I can tell you is that 20% of all the people with 3 years worth of experience doing something are just as bad at doing it as they were on day number one. In fact, they probably got worse because they got some attitude about it, right? I can tell you that 20% of all people with 3 years of experience are great at what they do, and they were great at it 3 years ago, and they're always going to be great at it. And so it really comes down to this notion of, know that you do have experience, believe that you can actually go do the work, because if you don't have those kinds of things, then it makes the challenge really, really difficult. There are some companies where the way that they're recruiting and the recruiters who are looking at it, if you don't actually have work experience and you don't have X numbers of years of work experience, they're going to decline you out. And there's kind of nothing you can do about that if you go in through the front door. And so if you're always just applying for jobs, and when you apply for the job, you get screened out by the system or some junior administrator, then yeah, that's going to be a problem for you. But every company won't work that way. And the technique that I'm talking about, which is reach out to the hiring managers, reach out to the peers, reach out to those kinds of people, will really help overcome that, because you're exhibiting a lot of the behavior that it takes that people are interested in. At least they'll begin to have conversations with you. Final thing I've got to say about it is every person, I think, when they kind of go into a job search mode, has this notion that there's something that's holding them back. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too inexperienced, I'm too something, right? I've got this thing, I've got this challenge, I've got this burden, I've got this, this is why it's hard. And everyone has that, right? I mean, it's super common. But if you dig under that one level, which is, what is it about not having work experience? What is it that really concerns them? Is it really that you don't have work experience? No, it's not. What it's really about is they're concerned that you can't do the work. That's what they're concerned about. So besides years of experience, what could you do to demonstrate someone that you can do the work? What examples could you give? What could you say in a conversation? What could you, what can you do in lieu of that? If your concern is that you're too old, it's like, it's not because that you're too old. It has nothing to do with your age. Dig under that. What's the real concern? The real concern is that you don't have energy anymore. The real concern is that you're not interested in learning new stuff. The real concern is that you're looking to just coast until you get out to retirement. Those are the real concerns. So whatever it is that you feel like you'll be discriminated against, try to dig under that and figure out what the real concerns are, and you can go address those heads on. I mean, if I was in an interview and how old am I? Hold on, I'm 57. If I was concerned that I was going to be discriminated against because of my age, but I think if I was in an interview, I don't think that that's going to happen. But if I were, I might say, hey, Leslie, if I were you, I might be concerned about my age. Would it be all right? Let me tell you a little bit about that. And I'm going to go down the list of whatever I think that it was. And I think that by the end of that, you'd have no question that I'm not a guy who doesn't have a whole lot of energy. So I hope I'm making sense, which is, one, you do have experience and know that you do, and your belief that you do is fundamental. Know that you can do the work, whatever it is, and then, go to the people and understand that their concern isn't your lack of experience. Their concern is the risk that they're going to take on when you haven't really done it before. So what other proof can you give them that you're going to be successful at doing it, right? Give them examples of work that you've done, have a deep, meaningful conversation with them. Hey, could I give you an example? Let me give you an example. And here's the reason why it matters to me, right? So you just have to overcome the objection. That's all. That's all. Easier said than done, but that's how you go about it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And actually, we have another question that's
Sure.
similar to what you had, but let me go ahead and ask it because I do hear this a lot.
Okay.
This person says, I completed a program where I acquired Microsoft Office Specialist, Excel, and IDLE Foundation, Six Sigma Green Belt, and currently preparing to sit for my PMP. How do I position this so that it compels a recruiter to look at me?
That's such a really, really great question. And the truth is that they're probably not going to look at you because of that set of skills. What it really all comes down to is be very clear that with that set of skills and capabilities, what problems do you solve, right? And then if you understand what problems that you solve, then you can go find the companies that have those problems and go address them, and then they will better recognize that. As an example, let's just pick the PMP part. So project management is a skill. It's not really a job. It's a skill. And so as an example, some of my clients, I'm predominantly in the high tech space. So, it's not unusual that my clients hire software development product or software development project managers. But if you don't know anything about software development, they can't hire you as a project manager. So it's a matter of now they could hire you as a project management coordinator because you can do that job without domain expertise. But if you take your domain expertise, the things that you're interested in, the things you're curious about, take your PMP plus these other kinds of things that you do, identify the work that you want and the problems that you solve, and you no longer rely on job posts, but instead go connect with the hiring managers, the peers, and the recruiters. They will recognize you and they'll know what to do with you. The other thing is that if you go to market, so to speak, being open to possibilities, people think that that's helpful to them. I'm here to tell you that it's not. Narrow it down, be very clear on the role and why that role makes sense for you. Because as a recruiter, if you tell me, well, I'm open to operations jobs or these kinds of jobs or those kinds of things, there's somebody out there that says, no, 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 what I do is this. And what it is when I'm working with a company and they're looking to hire somebody who does that, I'm going to the set of people who are very clear that they want to do that, not the people who are open to possibilities. Because if you take your tool set and your openness to possibilities, essentially what you're saying is you're leaving it to be my responsibility or somebody else's to figure out what to do with you. And I can't, and I'm not willing to, and it doesn't make any sense. So get crystal clear on the roles that you do, how what you know and your skills are contribute to that role. Go identify the people who have those kinds of problems, reach out to them, and that's what I would do.
That's excellent, Gary. I think that's great. I think too, good,
So
yes, very helpful, awesome. I have one last question before we go, and that is, as a recruiter, I mean, obviously this is you do this daily. What would you want to convey, aside from everything that you've just said? What would you say is the one thing that kind of wows you to the point where, that you think most of these folks don't know? If you had to pick one thing, do you have one wow thing that would help them kind of bump them over the top or
yeah,
in their
no, I
competition?
get it. I don't know that I would label it wow, but what I was just thinking about is what is it that really makes people stand out? Because I did, I don't know, 12,
Yeah.
15 interviews this week.
Okay.
And some people just clearly stand out, right? Some clearly stand out above the others. And what it is that they're engaged in solving the problem. They really care about the connection to the business, right? They don't expect me to carry the conversation, right? I was talking to an individual yesterday about product management kinds of things as an example. Oh, no, 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 it was a design role, UX design, user interface, user experience type design. And what he was talking about was when it was his turn to talk about, which was, he said, he said, the truth is that a beautiful design doesn't make any difference if it didn't increase the business results, if it didn't increase the outcome, if it didn't increase user satisfaction or increase revenue or those kinds of things. And so it's the ability to, one, tie the work that you do to the success of your boss, your team, and the company, and understand why your work matters and be motivated to make that difference, right? It's so clear to me when people understand that I do what I do because I need to make a difference, and the kind of difference that really turns me on is this one. And they're able to make that connection, they're able to make that leap. So if somebody's talking about project management as an example, I mean, what are they really talking about? Are they talking about Gantt charts? Are they talking about the skills and stuff like that? I mean, no, I mean, the conversation is one of the things that I really love about project management is that it's clear that my work can help increase efficiency. It can increase business results. It can increase profitability. It can ensure that we can have clear communications with our client and increase client satisfaction. So for me, the wow factor almost always is that well, I like it when they reach out to me, by the way, and they're super easy to work with, right? Super easy to work with. And the messages they send are clear and to the point, but not just short, just little stupid text sentences. But it really is, does this individual understand why they do what they do and the impact that they make? And do they understand that how much they get paid, they need to be worth 10 times that? You need to be worth 10 times what it is that you're paid. You need to understand how that happens. So the people who get that really stand out. Yeah, that happens for me over and over and over. I don't know if
That's
that's
great.
true for every single recruiter, but it certainly is for me. I can tell you a couple of things that are super turnoffs. I'll send messages out to people, or even follow up with somebody who applies on a job, and they say, "What's it pay?" Kind of going, if the first thing you want to talk about is what's it pay, let's just don't. It pays you nothing, right? It pays you nothing because we're done, like right now. That's a simple example of the bad thing is that when when it's time for them to talk and it's time, that sounds bad. When we get to the point in the conversation where it's just like, hey, Leslie, what else would you like to know? What else should we talk about, right? The people whose whole focus is on what's in it for me, well, let's talk about benefits. And what about healthcare? What about those kinds of things? You know what? That will come in time. Does that have anything to do with whether or not you'd move forward to the next interview? And what is it about asking me about benefits in this first conversation? What is it about asking that's supposed to make me like you more? I get it. You might be curious about those kinds of things, but really use your airtime for something that matters, right? So the people who very much move into what's in it for me, or I've got doubts, or I've got this, or all that, yeah, that's an awesome way to make me tell you what, Leslie, that was a great conversation. I look forward to following up with you. Give me a couple of days. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to craft a message. I'm going to delay it, sending it to you a couple of days because I don't want to make you feel bad. I'm going to send you a message telling you basically we're done.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and those are hard lessons. You don't want to learn that when you're job searching. Hearing it from you is much better than having firsthand experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
I got,
Um,
can I say one other thing on that?
please do.
I very often have people who want feedback from their interview, and I get it. And I can tell you one why I'm usually not going to give it to you. What you really want, and the other thing is I want you to understand that, like, what would you do with that? The answer most of the time is it doesn't have anything to do with you. Most of the time, it isn't because of anything you did or didn't do in your interview. Most of the time, it's because there's somebody else in consideration who's better, faster, cheaper. I mean, usually that's the answer. Usually the true answer would be the only thing you could do would be go back a bunch of years and like live your career life differently, because I mean, it's not going to work. So very rarely would any meaningful feedback from interviews and stuff make any difference in terms of what you should or shouldn't have done, except for the kind of stuff that I just gave you, which is you spend all your time asking what's in it for you questions and those kinds of things. So if you come across needy and you go to market trying to find a job as opposed to people you're going to help, that can do it for you. But rarely will you get any meaningful feedback. So I think that rather than asking people for feedback why you didn't get the job, maybe just reach out to an appreciation for their time and consideration and make it easy for them to let you off the hook. Because the reason why you never hear back from most people is because most people don't want to tell you no. And the reason why I won't go into detail with you is that 5% of you will go psycho, 2% of you will call the CEO, 1% of you will cause real problems for me. So the easiest thing that I can do is say, well, I'll tell you what, Leslie, you know what? We had a great conversation. We welcome a conversation with you sometime in the future. In this particular case, we're moving forward with a couple of other individuals. So we do appreciate your time and consideration. That's kind of all I can tell you, because history tells me that it's not worth my time and energy, because way too many of you are going to cause a real problem for me. And you're going to try to overcome some kind of an objection, stuff like that. So just gracefully move on, right? Let me just let it go.
Yeah. Move on. On to the
Yeah.
next
On to
better
the
thing.
next. Yeah.
I think that's good. We do have one last question, and I think it might be relevant. It's essentially when there's a first time for everything. What do you do when you're brand new to the field and
Mhm.
you feel like you're not being given a chance? Is it
Mhm.
that may be a perspective
Yeah.
versus a reality? So, how would you advise people to move forward in that regard?
You know, I couldn't agree with you more than it's a perspective. So here's the thing is that if you're really, really confident that you're going to be able to do the work, then it shouldn't feel like somebody's taking a chance on you. I mean, I've run a lot of my own businesses, and if I had my wallet in my pocket right now, I would show you that if your attitude or your feeling truly is that I should take a chance on you, what you're asking me to do is take money out of my wallet and give it to you in the hopes that it's going to really work out well. And I know that's probably not what you mean, but I mean, that's the experience of the person on the other side. So what it all comes down to is that when people are considering hiring you, what they want to know is, who are you? What do you do? Do you understand how you can help my business? And do you have proof? Do you have proof? So that you haven't done it before, it's your first time and stuff like that. The burden that you're up against is, do you have proof? And so do you have proof is in the interview process, right? If you're getting that far, even when you're reaching out, is to be able to demonstrate the fact that you literally know what it is that you're doing. You know, in the classwork that we did these kinds of things, we made these kinds of differences, we made that, because no one is in business to give you a chance, right? I mean, that's, unfortunately, that's not the way that it works. I know that's not what somebody's really asking in that. I do understand the real question, but that's how it can come across on the other side. It's not about giving you a chance. What it needs to be is that you're the person who stands out as the person who's going to work their, I mean, what if you come across with an amazing work ethic? That can overcome a lot of things with regard to doubt in your first job and those kinds of things. Amazing work ethic, right? I'll do everything that it takes to get this job done, right? Persistent, you know, really polite follow-up if you got so far in your interview. So if you get so far as an interview, what I can tell you in most interviews is they end in either bang, which is great, awesome, right? Exclamation point. Or most of them end up in question mark. Not sure, not sure, I'm not sure. Some of them end up in splat, right? So just don't do that. You can't overcome splat. But most of them are going to end in a question mark. Sometimes it's your follow-up that makes all the difference. So if it was an interview, so I say, hey, thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. What I learned from you is this kind of stuff, right? And since we talked, I've been thinking about such and such, and not only have been thinking about such and such, but here's this kind of stuff. And by the way, I solved this problem. So give them proof, give them ongoing proof of the fact that you actually care and that you're motivated and that you'll work really hard. It's not easy to do, but I mean, that's the strategy that I would probably take.
That's perfect, Gary. That's
I hope
perfect.
so. So none of these things are absolute, right? These are just,
Right.
in general. And I
Right.
do understand that when you're new to doing something, the other thing you can do, by the way, is go search for people who do the work that you do on LinkedIn and find a company, find a bunch of people who are new to what it is that they do, and where
Mhm.
they work are companies that obviously hire people who are new to what it is that they do. Sometimes the shortest path to all of this stuff and to overcome some of those objections, if you think that you're too old, go search for people who do what you do, who look like you, who are in your age group. Write down the name of those companies. Just a shorter path.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a shorter path.
Yeah, it seems most of this, it's all very much above board. And actually, I see that we got one more question about how to
Yeah,
discuss extended job gaps, but and you've touched on that before as well. Answer with honesty, be clear
yeah. Yeah,
on that.
the truth in all of this stuff is just be human, fill in the gaps with the truth about really what was going on.
Hmm.
And I would even put it in my resume. I mean, just put it in there. Family caregiver,
Hmm.
whatever it happened to be, right? Just fill in the details, right? So
Perfect.
the gaps in information people fill in with negative assumptions. So just fill the gap, then there isn't one.
Right. It takes that question mark away for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
Gary, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm sure we could all sit here for hours, which we don't want to do on a gorgeous day, hopefully, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording real quickly. I would like to go ahead and mention, though, before I do that, come join us on September 11th in 2 weeks. We're going to have Acing the Interview on Friday. That is key, especially in this current market, to going in with being prepared as well. We've got a survey also that I was going to mention to you too. What'll happen is when we close out, you're going to be prompted with a short survey, and this is a little bit of a new platform for us. So we'd like to have a lot of your feedback, good, bad, ugly, whatever you think, and we also appreciate you bearing with us in our new adventures today. So thank you all so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Forgot to mention, sorry. In the chat, I did put a link to the information that Gary shared with us. So there's a link to the PowerPoint that he shared with us, the notes, and there's also a link to the resume template that he shared with us, which are valuable. And
Okay.
again, if you have any questions, if you missed anything, just email us at webinar@focalpointlearn.com, and that's also in the chat. So
Thanks so much for
thanks.
being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me be here.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
See you.